What a week. What an absolute great week. Had the White House on Monday. You had the decision on the fifth-year option on Jordan Davis. LeBron gets knocked out of the playoffs. Yeah. I didn't like the Lightning getting knocked out by the Panthers. NBA playoffs have been pretty good, man. I'm great with it. By the way, the world of sports, white people come here. Get this, month of April's over, right? Major League Baseball. Nearly 30,000 people per game at every single Major League Baseball stadium. In the first month of the season, you're up 2.3%. It's the best number in decades. Sports. 7.5 million people watch the draft each night. Sports. Why? Because it brings us together here. We don't have to sit around bullshitting about the politics of the country right now. That's why you come here. That's why you don't want to sit around, and we don't want to sit around breaking down tariffs and bullshit like that. Nobody wants to hear it. Sports. Fifth-year option. All of it. Everything that goes on. And sports galvanizes it. Rookie mini camps today and tomorrow. I gave you a little insight in what that was going to be. There's no doubt. One of the questions is Dallas Goedert as well. I heard John McMullen say there's no market. Shit, I know there's 10 teams that want a tight end like Dallas Goedert. And if he was in a better passing offense, he would have better numbers. Dallas Goedert knows this. That's why he's not going to sign any. Dallas Goedert has no interest in signing anything that the Philadelphia Eagles have for him that are in front of him right now. And get this, it's not personal, Howie. Howie's like, it's not personal. I hear people in Philly going, I believe he's back. I do. Why would he come back? Except for one. Oh, here, I'll relent on this. I think Goddard's back. He ain't signing no contract extension. Not in Philadelphia. Why would he? When he knows he can go out and get more money. Uncle Sills, did you miss me? Where were you? Locked up in the pokey with Trump's January 6th guys? How you doing, James Jones? By the way, you will win this year the NFC East. How you doing? Yeah. Oh, here's the new one. What's this guy's name? What's the new tight end's name? Here's the new flavor of the month for Eagle fans. What does it say? What is it? Malachi Carr? This tight end is going to take over for Dallas Goedert. What's his name? Malachi Carr? Is it Malachi Carr? Is that the new flavor of the month in Philly? Malachi Carr. Yeah. What's the guy's name? I mean, right? What's his name? Is it Malik Carr? Help me out here. It's Malik Carr season, Sills. He's going to take over for Dallas Goedert. Yeah, okay. Like Moro and Jomo's going to take over for Milton Williams. Who in the world is that? It's just, I went over and looked for Malachi Carr, the tight end. I was like, how come he's not on the roster? Then I realized he was the guy who was invited to camp. He's not even on the team. Hey, you want to come in and have a couple Gatorades with us and let's see if you're anybody? And you got people in Philly going, there's a replacement for Dallas Goedert. Wait till you see this guy in Harrison Bryant. Who? Jesus, I'd rather sign Antonio Bryant. Oh, my God. Not happening. Never happen. Hit the like button. Super Chats go to the top. You are not winning the NFC East this year. You don't have the personnel to do it. Come on now. Oh, yeah, but we're going to replace everybody with people who have never been in the league, and we're going to – so many new faces that, don't worry about it. Fuck it. We got the same offense back. Yeah, okay. The offense was one dude. It was six dudes. It was the O-line and Barkley, the leader of the team. I think one thing's for sure this week. My favorite Eagle is Saquon Barkley, baby. The MVP of the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, sir, baby. Yes, sir. Saquon Barkley. I love that guy, man. Hey, we're going to talk about the many holes defense. Okay, well, we're going to hit on that thing. Let's see what else we got going here. Oh, in the next 2 years, I got a question for you about your defensive football team. There are landing spots that we're hearing for Dallas Goedert. 2025 Eagles that have to have a show-me year. And we'll talk a little bit of NFL news as well. There is so much stuff, man, out there right now. Good night, almighty. All right, let's do this. Let's start with the story of the week here. Okay? Let's start with the story of the week. That was Jordan Davis. I'm even starting to get people starting to agree with me now. That guy ain't getting a second contract. He's getting a parting gift. More holes than Sil's underwear. How you doing? Hey, I told your girlfriend I don't wear underwear. How you doing, Twiz? Thanks for the super. So let's do something very simple here. Very simple. Okay? If you were going to address over the next 2 years, Philadelphia Eagle players, before you got to Jordan Davis, let's take a look at this. Nolan Smith, would you address him before Jordan Davis over the next 2 years? Yes or no? Would you address right now, on May 2nd, Nolan Smith before you would even go anywhere near Jordan Davis? I think so. So Nolan Smith is on the Eagles' priority list. Would we not agree over the next 2 years? Because that's what the extension gives the Eagles with Jordan Davis. Okay, so Nolan Smith. All right. First guy on the list. Let's go to another guy. Would you address Reed Blankenship before Jordan Davis? Yes or no? Let me find something out too here. I want to do something here. We'll get to you, JD3. Let's see here. Who played the most snaps in 2024 for the Eagles? So let's take a look at that. Eagles snap count. There we go. I like that. There you go. Let's see. What did Reed play? How many did Reed Blankenship play? Here we go. Reed Blankenship. He played 86% of the snaps. He played 821 regular season snaps versus 388 for Jordan Davis. I give the offseason a B so far, mainly for keeping Bond and defensive staff. We have a big drop in personnel, though. You're putting more faith in the coaching staff than you are in the guys that are going to play. Sounds right. That's wishful thinking, that the coaches can go out and play for you. All right. So Reed Blankenship's number 2, right? He's a more important player. He's on the field more. So we'll put Reed 2. This is over the next 2 years. Let's go here again. You think you're going to, over the next 2 years, are you going to address Cooper DeJean? Or are you going to address Jordan Davis? Who are you going to address over the next 2 years? Cooper DeJean or Jordan Davis? Cooper. Coop? Okay. Coop. Over the next 2 years, Eagles on defense. Contracts you're going to address. Quinyon Mitchell? Okay. Put Q there. Looks dope, right? So far over the next 2 years, according to you, the Eagles are going to face and deal with Nolan Smith's deal, Reed Blankenship, Cooper DeJean, and Quinyon Mitchell. Okay. Stu. Jalen Carter. Whose contract are you going to address over the next 2 years? Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis? Okay. So that's Jalen Carter. Probably number one, right? Okay. So far, over the next 2 years, the Philadelphia Eagles, according to you, have 5 guys ahead of Jordan Davis in how much they're going to pay him and if they're even going to address him. Is that right? Jesus criminy. There's only 11 guys that start on defense. Hey, you can even make the comment, who played better last year, Nakobe or Jordan? Sills, the new tight end sounds like Cheech and Chong. Yeah, dude, I don't care who he is. Who do you think they're going to address? Nakobe Dean? What if Nakobe plays the same way he did? Like he did this past year? Are you going to address Jordan Davis or Nakobe Dean? Dean. All right. Remember, there's 11 guys that start. So the 7th contract on the priority list for Howie Roseman over the next 2 years defensively is going to be Jordan Davis. And if Jalen Hunt happens to step up and become a starter, all fucking bets are off. Jordan Davis has no shot at a 2-year contract in Philly at $17, $18 million. And let me put something else in perspective. So right now, the salary cap is $279.2 million. Do you know how much the cap goes up each year? It goes up between 9.3 and 11.9%, which is around $20 million. You think over the next 2 years, adding $40 million with all these players is going to be indicative enough of an increase in the salary cap to fucking pay that guy? Hoss, your salaries are escalating on your team more than the cap and the market and the gross national product of the NFL is growing. What I'm saying to you is the Eagles' salaries are growing at a faster rate than the NFL salary cap is growing because of the amount of good players you have. You are ahead of what the growth of the league is because you have good players. So when you keep saying the salary cap's going up, it is. It's going up about $20 million a year. That's not going to be enough to sign all these guys because it's not increasing enough. That's why you lost Milton, and that's why you lost Gardner Johnson, and that's why you lost Sweat, and Oren Burks, and a cheap Isaiah Rodgers. So when you keep saying, hey, dude, the cap's going up, don't worry, it's not going up enough. Look at the numbers. They don't add up. That would mean that the Eagles would have to give. Say you're going to give this kid $15 million. Just go there. If you were going to give Jordan Davis a $15 million 3-year contract extension, that's about $45 million, right? For that to be conducive for you to help on your cap, you'd have to give him an excess of $35 million in guarantees. For that to work, the Eagles aren't passing out cats right now. That's not what they're doing. Look at the money that they don't even want to sign Dallas Goedert. Get this. The league is not growing with the cap more than what your players' contracts are growing. That's a fact. Look at how much you increased the payroll this year by even cutting guys or trading them. Salary cap goes up every year. Other teams do. What? Salary cap goes up for every other team too. It's something that Eagle fans miss out on. That's right. The difference is there's a big difference between your personnel and the Jets. Not everything's equal because not every team's the same. Just because the structure's the same doesn't mean you have to pay. I'm not paying shitty players on the Jets. You're put into a position where you're paying for good players. You want to be in that. Bro, that's so what? You're not in the same boat as the Jets or Carolina or Arizona or Tennessee or Cleveland. You have nothing in common with those teams except how the league's structured. I mean, end of the day, the cap's not growing enough to hire and sign all these guys back. You're going to have to make what I used to say that the Patriots used to do, the tough cut. Currently at work watching the show on the toilet. That's actually the best place in the world to watch this show. And I admire you, Jameson, because that's where you should be. This is the best place, and that's the best place to watch this show. What do you think? You're like His Highness Hertz where you sit on a throne? Jameson, we got our own throne. How you doing? See, we're the common man. Our throne's the toilet. It's the only solace you get. Thank you very much. Hey, other people sit on the throne in a castle. We sit on the throne in the toilet. How you doing? Make sure there's TP. Thank you. And by the way, wash your hands outside when you leave. So wait a minute. I got 7 guys that you're going to address before Davis. Davis has no shot at getting a second contract in Philadelphia. You could start that process right now. Sills, good afternoon. Question: does coaching staff elevate players and they become more valuable? Obviously, there's no question the scheme that they put in place last year for Nakobe Dean, for Zach Bond, and for Josh Sweat, and for Milton Williams, and for the secondary, all benefited the player skill sets. They were better coached than Desai. Absolutely. It was evident. Nolan Smith and Jordan Davis will be gone in 26. They both won't be resigned. I'll tell you this. I'm not sold on Nolan Smith yet. I mean, he looks like a really good-looking talent now, and he's starting to come around, and he fits. Hey, get this. Nolan Smith in a Sean Desai defense is horseshit. Nolan Smith in a other defense in the league. You know how you guys tell me that Milton Williams is going to suck? And Milton Williams is going to suck in New England, right? Nolan Smith would suck in Carolina. Wouldn't he not? Oh, no, he'd be great, right? Right? Okay. Oh, by the way, do you guys know what a nickel defense is? I saw the guys this morning, and I saw them talking about nickel defense. Do you guys know what one is? This is the nickel defense. And there's the Eagle nickel personnel right there. 2 high safety. Dean's the W. Bond's the Mike. Cooper's the nickel. Q is the corner. Keely Ringo's your other corner. Carter's on the left. Jordan's on the nose. Morrow's on the tackle position. And Smith's on the end. Do you understand that that's what a nickel defense is? Just so you guys, because you're talking out of your assets, it's a 4-2-5. Do you know what that even means? Do you guys even have a direct concept of what that is? Does anybody in here, let's test your knowledge here. That's right. The nickel uses 5 DBs. Okay? What can't you read, dipshit? What can't you read? Nose tackle, DT. Oh, okay, that's right. Because you're not that football informed, because you don't know what a free safety and strong safety and NB means. It's nickelback, son. Here, I'll help you out here, Ryan, because you're an ignorant dude and don't know what. And now I know I should have been doing this from day one. So because of ass bags like Ryan who don't know what the fuck a nickel defense is, I'll sit there and help you out a little more. Free safety, strong safety, NB, Mike, Will, corner, defensive end, and T is nose tackle. Okay? Do you know what the concept of this is in your personnel? Okay? Do you know what this is? Do you know what this means? Let me ask you something here. What was the strength of the defense a year ago with Nick? Or with Vic, excuse me. Nick. I didn't mean that. Excuse me. Freudian slip. What was the strength of the defense a year ago? What do you think the strength of the defense for the Eagles was a year ago? What was it? Linebacker, says Abe. Linebacker play. Okay. What else? Don't look at it in the micro, Kyle. Look at it macro. Okay? Bend but don't break. I didn't see a bend but don't break defense in the Super Bowl. Improve second. Okay. You guys are missing it. I'm going to tell you. What's the one word that the Eagles in this offseason have used, whether it's free agency or it's in the draft? What's the one word they've used? Explosive? No. There you go. What's the advantage of having this nickel and playing in a 43 or 34 when you have versatile athletes? What's the key ingredient to being able to play a 43, 34 or this, a nickel? What's the key ingredient? Guys, expand on what you mean by versatility. This is good. This is good. That's part of it. Hey, where is this guy? You're getting there. I'm here to educate. I'm an educator today. This is looking good. Where are you? That's a good one. Okay. It's so I don't have to take my personnel off the field ever. Which means, how many times do you watch a football game where you see teams caught in normal personnel and they can't get in the nickel? They could just roll and rotate into it without massive substitutions. It allows you not to have substitutions. That's why you sign a guy like Jihad Campbell. You have N'Kobe. You have Bond. You have guys like Milton. You have guys like Sweat. You have guys that can play in the slot, corner, no matter where. It's so you don't have to have substitutions and you can play with your nickel package in regular 43 or 34 looks. What you're trying to do is never get caught off guard by what the offense is dictating to you. You start dictating to them what they can and can't do because same personnel is on the field. The strength of the Philadelphia Eagles last year was not that you had the best players in the league, was that you had the most versatile team on defense in the league. Nobody in the league last year had what you had. The substitution packages were never really that monstrative during the games. You put one or two guys. Vic didn't have to do multiple unit changes where you see teams, even Pittsburgh, will have a 34 and a 43 package. There'll be massive substitutions. The Eagles don't have substitutions like that. You know how you know that? Look at the snap counts. Your guys that were in nickel, 3-man look, 4-2-5 look, they all played on the same field at the same time, no matter what scheme was called. Do you know how fucking strong that is? Do you know how amazing that is? Where I got players on my foot. This is why when I say you took a blowtorch to something that was not seen in a long time. Look at the snap counts. They'll tell you. They didn't have substitutions a year ago. The only reason the Eagles went to substitution packages a year ago was why? Injury. And they could play guys in multiple spots. Hand up, hand down, hand in the dirt, stand up, drop. That's the key to this. You have nowhere near that now. Or you don't know as of right now who can do that. A year ago, you knew who could do that. You knew, and Vic knew. You know, the only question mark, really, there were two positions that Vic really had question marks on. Who was going to play the corner for Bradbury? I'd say 3. Who was going to play in the slot? Shit, people thought Avonte Maddox was. And who was going to play the off linebacker? Shit, maybe both linebackers. Nobody had an idea who was going to play there. I think they were pretty comfortable with what they had up front. Sweat, Davis, Carter, and Milton. I'm good. That was probably the strength of the team. You were still worried about the linebackers, a corner, and a nickel. And those, you had experience, and they had been in the system for over 3 or 4 years. Sweat had been in over 5 or 6. Milton had been in for 3. James Bradbury, shit, even he was in for 2, 3 years. Had a Pro Bowl, got a brand new contract. He kind of knew what you were working with. Vic knew more about last year's personnel than he does. This is the key to this. Vic knew more about last year's personnel because he was a consultant in 22. He knew what they had, and almost pretty much the same players from 22 were there in 24 to start a training camp. Well, he's not afforded that right now. You got a bunch of new free agents, a new draft choices, and you got guys who've been on the team only one or 2 years. it makes it more difficult to find who has the versatility to do what you did a year ago. You know where I got this from? John McMullen said something on Birds 365 today. Well, Mario Jones was a pass rusher, and Ty Robinson's going to be the run stopper. You didn't have to do that last year. Those guys were both. And get this. Xander said this, and it's right. Well, Josh Sweat wasn't an exceptional pass rusher. He was good. He wasn't all that great against the run. He was good. And if he had to, we could drop. He wasn't really great at that, but he was good. You don't have anybody that fits that role on your defensive front except for one, Jalen Carter. Last year, you had 4 guys that had that distinction. You don't have that right now. You got one-dimensional guys, which will mean that you're going to be more in substitution packages, which means against veteran quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford, you get caught with your pants down. A year ago, you didn't, because you didn't have to do that, because you kept your same personnel on the field. Look at these snap counts on defense. Carter, 831. Look at this. Bourne, 939. Even Nolan Smith, who came in later, 546. Quinyon Mitchell, 955. Slay, 700. Cooper, 627 for a rookie who missed 4 games. He would have been over $1,000. Gardner Johnson, by the way, Gardner Johnson almost had 1,000 snaps a year ago. Who are you replacing 1,000 snaps with? Sidney fucking Brown? The Makuba kid? Get out of here. Come on, man. I want you guys to start thinking with a little bit more common sense. To sit here, again, I'm not suggesting to you that these players are not going to be good. But this is like cooking a meal here. It's not ready served. It's not ready served. Sills, say Cooper gets sent out to corner 2 instead of playing in a nickel. Can you put Mondon and Jihad, if healthy, playing outside linebacker and Bond at middle and losing 1 DB? I don't know if I want to mess with that secondary right now. I don't know if Vic's going to feel it's easier to cover 1 corner. What's more important in a zone? What do you think's more important in the zone to Vic Fangio? Middle of the field or the numbers? You got 2 high safety as center fielders in case something gets plus 25 on you. Me, it's the middle of the field. The middle of the field is the one thing that destroyed you in 23, in the second half of the season. I'm not surrendering the middle of the field because that's where you play pitch and catch with tight ends. I'm not looking to get mismatched in the middle of the field by having somebody of a lesser player that's not as good a tackler like Sidney Brown out there trying to bring down tight ends or running backs. No way. This guy decleated Derrick Henry in the nickel. Bro, I'm not moving that dude off that spot. I don't care how much it cost him. And let me tell you this. Having Gardner Johnson and having Cooper, you got 2 guys. That's 1,700 snaps. They never stepped off the field, whether it was 4.25, 43.34, or a base. You never took them off the field. People don't understand. You didn't have the greatest personnel. The Philadelphia Eagles, by far last year, of any defense in the National Football League, had the best versatile defense maybe in the last 25 years. Because they didn't have to deal with substitutions. They were never caught with their pants down. It's not talked about enough. Yes. You know why you look, you know what the untrained eye will look at, okay? Do you know what the untrained eye will look at? Milton Williams and Josh Sweat aren't really all that great. That's so not looking at what they were asked to do. You're right, Xander. Sweat's not the best pass rusher. He's not the best run defender. He doesn't really drop that great. But I'll tell you what he does do. He plays all the requirements in a Vic Fangio defense that's asked not to have substitutions or the lack thereof. He's almost irreplaceable. For what you have to do for Josh Sweat on your current roster, you have to play 2 players to cover his ass because you don't have anybody that's versatile like that. Same with Milton. That's the point. And I got that today by listening to those guys talking. And I went back and I looked, and then I had a great conversation because I think I am going down to Tampa to see Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles' biggest asset and biggest requirement for a player on his defense is the fact that I don't want to have to pull you off the field. That's why Jordan Davis has no shot at getting another contract. Because he's part of a substitution package. I'm not looking to do that. You get caught with your pants down like that. If you can't be a 3-down player at every position on the Eagle, let me say this to you. Let's take a look at this. And I don't even have to. Every single position that you had on defense last year, was everybody but Jordan Davis a 3-down player? Were they? Name me one other player that wasn't a 3-down player that you had on your defense a year ago outside of Jordan. Name me one. This year, it's littered with that. It's littered. Ty Robinson's a 3-down player. Here's another Dunkov. How the fuck would you know that? He played at Nebraska against Northwestern 6 months ago. Moro Jomo wasn't a starter. You had one player that you substituted. That was Davis. This year, are you going to substitute Moro Jomo on first and second down? Or are you taking the gamble that he could play the run, which he can't? All right? Okay? Who's filling the role of Dean? Who was a 3-down player last year? Here, let me take a look at the defense. Here's the defense. I wrote it down. Moro Jomo, Ty Robinson. There's your starters at left DE. You're going to have to decide which guy here is going to be the starter. You know what I would take if I were Vic here with this? I would look at this and go, well, I'll tell you what, Moro Jomo's a better pass rusher. Who's better against the run? Ty Robinson. I'm starting him. Yeah, but he's not the pass rusher. Yeah, guess what? I'll live with my secondary. My secondary was awful good a year ago. That's why I'm pretty much going to keep it intact. I'm going to look at this and go, my opinion, Ty Robinson's more important to me and Moro Jomo because Moro Jomo I could bring in when it comes to 3rd down passing. I don't think he's very good against the run. I have a feeling Ty Robinson, and I don't know yet, is going to be a better run stopper. Okay, your weak side linebacker. Injuries to Smith. I don't know. Most likely he'll be ready for camp. Now he's going to have to take on, get this, let's take a look at this. So Nolan Smith last year played 546 snaps. Let's take a look at what Sweat played 622, 59, 60% of the snaps. Okay? As you could tell, the linebackers and the secondary guys played the majority of the snaps. I'll make this point to you here. Is he going to be able to put on an extra 200 snaps this season, Nolan Smith? Is he going to be able to play that? We shall see. Okay? Now, the key to this conversation, always remember, 69% of the time you are in nickel. But if teams, here's the key to your defense. In the first 4 weeks, if teams are running the ball down your throat, you are going to be what John McMullen thinks you're going to be. A team in the 20s when it comes to a defense total. If you're better against the run and you can hold up, remember what happened in 23? What was that number? I think you guys started out in 2023 like you were number 1 against the run. And by the end of the year, you were giving up 147 yards a game rushing. In the last 6 weeks of the season, something like that, Reuben Frank had that number. And you were getting annihilated. Why? Because you weren't built to handle somebody just running the ball down your throat like that because you didn't have the personnel because you were undersized a year ago. Last year, your front seven did a great job. Dude, you know what was more impressive? Tell me something here. Hey, Kyle, what were the Eagles in rush defense last year? I believe you were number 1 in pass defense. Hey, what were you in rush? Is this exercise meant to make us feel like shit about next year or a lesson on football? I'm confused at the moment. Well, here, let me help you out here. I'm confused at what your expectations should be as you get ready for the upcoming season to sit here and go, and if you feel like shit, once again, DC, that's fucking on you. I'm here to help you out here. I'm looking at what your replacements are facing and what they have to accomplish and where there is a lot of work to do by September 8th. That's all I'm fucking doing here. If you're getting butthurt, I can't help you, kid. What were the Eagles in rush defense? They were 10th. That number was more important than being number 1 in pass defense. How do you go from number 1 in pass defense to from number 28th in pass defense? Remember what happened the year previous? They were running the ball down your throat. Your pass defense fell apart. I don't care if you have Deion Sanders playing corner. If you're getting the ball run down your throat, 10th is exceptional. That, to me, is more important than being number 1 in pass defense. Right there, 10th. You're a top 10 team? Dude, the difference between being a top 10 rush defense and the number 1 rush defense is nothing. Those are a couple good, get this, that's about 25 plays. That's about 25 plays. That separates you from 10th to 5th. 50 plays probably from 10th to 1st. What are we talking about here? Okay? I mean, pass defense is great. Tell everybody, you can't run the ball, you can't defend it. You can't play. And a year ago, you had players, and again, I use my daughter as an example because my kid can play every position. That means she doesn't have to come off the field. Vic Fangio had that last year. He had 11 guys he didn't have to take, 10 that he didn't have to take off the field. Now you've got 10 guys you've got to determine if they're 3 down guys or if these guys have to have multiple players covering multiple positions. Okay? Where do I see you right now as a pass defense? I think you're still one. Look, that secondary, My question is this. If you play in nickel and you got too high and you're playing Reed and Tristan McCullum, I don't think that's that hot. I think it's okay. Tristan McCullum is a good ball player. Reed benefited having Gardner Johnson next to him, and Gardner Johnson benefited from having Reed next to him. Well, Tristan McCullum is not the ball player Gardner Johnson is. And you're going to play the kid from Texas. Okay. Well, I think it's going to take a couple more times. Makuba being in shorts and a helmet today and tomorrow to determine whether or not he's a starter at strong safety. Don't you think? Or do you think he's just going to put his ass in there? He may. He may do that. He did it a year ago. He had 2 rookies starting in the secondary in nickel. He had Cooper and he had Q. He's capable of doing that. And if he feels it, he may just do that. By the way, if you're taking what I'm saying, that this is a negative, I'm telling you what the Eagles are thinking and how they're retooling and rebuilding this defense. You don't have the same people. This is the new chapter in the book. You're not rereading 2024 any longer. That's not what this is. Your second level is Q, Cooper, Bond, Dean, Ringo. That's really good looking. Except for Ringo. I have no faith in him. I know John thinks I don't see it. They didn't use him a year ago. They used Isaiah Rodgers. He wasn't high on Vic Fangio's list of guys who he put in when it came to substitutions. If he was so high on him, why did Isaiah Rodgers get a contract in Minnesota and he didn't get the reps? How many reps did Keely Ringo even get a year ago? And he was on your team. How many reps did Keely Ringo get? He got 112 reps. How many did Isaiah Rodgers get? He got 400. And he was a backup. Oh, no, okay. I mean, now all of a sudden he loves him? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Again, that's wishful thinking. Not even the coordinator thought he was last year. Very good. Right, folks? Take a look at hey, get this. That's Twiz's opinion. How many plays did he play a year ago? Get this. Well, I don't know about you, Guy, but he was weak against the run. Well, when he was in nickel, I don't know about running the ball too much. And 70% of the game, he was playing pass defense. It's a stupid take. Here's your front line. Carter, Davis, Ajomo, and Smith. I think you're untested on the right side in your nickel. Ajomo and Smith. And then behind that, you have Ringo sitting in that hole back there in that corner spot in nickel. Again, this is the nickel formation. Nolan sets the edge. You see that? Nolan sets the edge. Ringo's on the corner. And you got either Dean, I'm assuming. Most teams are right-handed. They're going to run right at that side because that's what teams do. Most teams, the Eagles are right-handed. Take a look at your quarterback. He don't scramble left. Majority of the runs, counter trades right. It's not that hard to break down your team. The great thing about the Eagles a year ago, your simplistic offense, you could even make a comment, a 1979 Oklahoma offense, even though it was simplistic, no one could stop it. Bro, again, here's another L take by this fucking guy. So you're going to add more confusion by adding people with no experience in playing in the system that Vic wants a week before the start of the season, when a year ago you at least had people that were in the same system for 3 years versus people that have not been in it. Yeah, okay. Guy, you have no idea what you're talking about. And you've got to fight. You know what the reason? You know all those guys that you guys signed? What's the number? Hey, Bob, what's the number one reason that all of those players that were cut by opposing teams that were elevated and evaluated as high draft picks? Bob, what's the biggest problem that those players had at their respective stops where they were initially drafted? Do you guys know? They weren't 3-down players. Every single one of those players that you draft, that you sign, every one of these guys, the Uche guy, not a 3-down player. I'll tell you what, I think Jalen Hunt has his chance to be a 3-down player. Less substitutions. Elise Ojulari, that kid from the Giants, he was never a 3-down guy. That's why they moved him. Bryce Huff, why do you think Bryce Huff is having problems in Philly? What's the number one thing do you think that the reason that Bryce Huff is struggling in Philly? What's the one clear reason when you watch him play? What's the one thing he gives you when you watch him play? What's the one thing? It's evident by the personnel that you've had on this team. What's the one thing that he struggles with in playing for the Eagles? He's not versatile. He's just not a versatile player. He's a one-dimensional pass rusher like the guy Uche. That's what he was in New England, and that's what Huff was in the Jets. They're the same guy. You signed the same guys. Every one of those players. Jalen Hunt has more talent than anybody you signed. If I were anybody you signed, get this. Watch this. He can cover? Really? So Joshua Uche can cover. He can rush the ball, but he gets murdered on the run. Not a 3-down player. See, you think replacing Josh Sweat. Vic don't want to replace a guy with 2 dudes. That means multiple substitution packages. That means you get caught with too many men on the field. That means you get caught in poor personnel. And the quarterbacks in today's game and the coordinators in today's game, that's what they're constantly trying to do. They're constantly trying to get you in a switch over from nickel to man to base. That's the game. That's the chess game you play. When you're out there, when the D coordinator and offensive coordinator, Todd Bowles and Brian Flores and all those kind of coordinators, they're looking for mismatches. And how do you get mismatches? Well, you get them caught in transition of personnel and substitution packages. Do you understand? It takes no talent to do that. It's just that you don't have the personnel on your roster to handle that. That's where you are. So when people go, and it's funny listening to other people talk, not knowing what in every single guy the Philadelphia Eagles drafted. I listened to Howie. Every single guy, the word versatility, Vic and versatility. I'm learning so much. Dave wants that, and Vic Fangio work together. And he told me exactly what kind of player he's looking at. Hey, look, a guy like Myles Garrett is so exceptional and such a unicorn. Size, strength, versatility, tenacity. It's what makes him a Hall of Fame player. That's why for me, when I look at a guy like Micah Parsons, and I don't really see a run stopper, that to me, that's a red flag. Here, I'd rather have a guy, let's project and say that Alex Hunt turns out to be a guy like Josh Sweat. You know what I'd rather have? I'd rather have Josh Sweat on my defensive scheme on my team than Micah Parsons. Why? I don't have to substitute. He can play the run, he can pass rush, and he can drop in coverage if needed. Parsons doesn't want to play the run. He can't cover the three bases. That's his major problem, is that he's not committed to the game. Every single guy you had a year ago was committed to the game and what they knew their roles. That's so important on being able to do that. You got to have, again, the Eagles didn't have the greatest personnel on defense in the NFL last year. They had the most versatile. They were the most versatile defense in pro football a year ago, by far. Take a look at Steve Spagnuolo's defense, for instance. Okay? Take a look at his. Who's the exceptional players on the Kansas City Chiefs? Gee, I wonder if they look alike. Eagles and Chiefs. Who's the one player on Spagnuolo's defense who's the one big-time player? Chris Jones. Okay. Isn't that Jalen Carter? Is it McDuffie Q? Name me another guy in the Chiefs. Bolton Bond. Bond's better. Even though he's won a couple Super Bowls. Karlaftis is Josh Sweat. Don't they look alike? They're not the top guys. But they've won 4 Super Bowls. Yeah, Bolton's such a beast, they let him go. Seals, when you realize undersized players, they need to be versatile so they can be moved around, which prevents the offense from taking advantage of mismatches in size. And also, like I said, and keeping the same guys on the field allows your defense not to have to deal with substitution packages where guys on the sidelines sucking on ice when they should be out in the game. You're talking about too many men on the field being caught with not having the right personnel. What if an offense comes in and all of a sudden they go high tempo? Think about this, Bob. So what happens when you're in the middle of a series and you got a quarterback like Stafford and he all of a sudden goes to quick tempo and they go to no huddle? You can't have Jordan Davis out there. He's a liability. He's a liability. They got away with it. Why? Because 10 other players on that defense, Milton and Josh, didn't have to come off the field. That's why Bond and Jacoby, and believe it or not, hey, you know why Burks was such a great fit? Steve Wilkes and all the linebackers like Fred Warner and those guys and Greenlaw play the same way. Where did Oren Burks come from? prior to coming to Philly. Do you guys know where? Where did Oren Burks come from? You guys remember where he came from? Came from the Niners, playing with Greenlaw and playing with Warner, who play that style of defense. They play that 4-2-5. Guys, this is the shit that the rookies are going over right now. What I'm giving you. That's what they're talking to them about. Right now, Vic's looking with the personnel that they drafted and the free agents. They're looking at the guys who they think is going to be. Vic's got to find what was the one problem that Devin White had. He was soft against the run. Vic wanted no part of that. He just wants to blitz. Remember, people were saying, hey, he looks like he's got a lot of speed. He's a 4.5 guy. I kept telling you, guy, he was a trash can. And everyone's like, oh, this guy, he was all pro second year. And yeah, I got it. I don't know what happened to him. But once again, according to Senor and all of you, if you have a take on a guy, you're not supposed to modify that because, hey, he was great 5 years ago. Well, I don't know what happened after year 2. He was great in his second year. Captain of the defense, all pro second team, won a Super Bowl. After that, he fell off a cliff. He had a Carson Wentz nosedive. Okay? I mean, I don't think many of you understand what you're looking at here. I would say this, as of right now, you're going to have to play with 2 players versus 1. Hey, think about what I'm going to say to you right here, just in a common sense conversation. To take over for Josh Sweat, you're going to have to play Moro Ajomo and Ty Robinson, 2 dudes to cover 1 guy. Right there in a nutshell. You got personnel issues and substitution issues. At the will linebacker, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt. Okay. Personally, I would put Jalix Hunt on the other side. And I would play him on the strong side. I think he can handle tight ends. Dude, you may have to go into the season this year with who they have penciled in right now as your strong side linebacker, Bryce Huff. Yeah, that's a nightmare. Think we get Simmons? Still need depth, but no money. We'll see. I'll get to that. Honestly, man. Here. Strong safety. You're going to have to play 2 guys there, McCollum and Mabuka, where before you had CJ. You just left them in there. And you could play him 4-2-5, 43-34, bear front. Banjo zone. You could do all those things with these guys. Look, knowing where to line up is 90% of it. How do you know where to line up when you've never had a helmet in the NFL? And again, that's what made Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean such an anomaly. But what was the most important thing that they did? You know what that was? They played zones in college. They understand the nuances of playing zone. That's great drafting. Remember when Rich McKay, the president of the Falcons, came on our show and said, we made a tragic mistake with Sileo by drafting him to play nose. He was a 3 technique in college. I never played nose. I didn't even know what the fuck they were talking about. Some of the techniques I had never played since high school. In the pros, I'm lining up against Ray Donaldson and Mike Munchak and Bruce Matthews. And I don't even know what the techniques are. That's great drafting by the Eagles. That's knowing who you're. Let me tell you one more time. the Eagles look at every single player on the planet, but they don't sign every guy because not every guy fits in. Get this. I like using my wife's team as an example. A year ago, my wife had 17, or a year ago, my wife had 9 players. This year, she had double, and they were worse. Why? Because those guys, they didn't know what they were doing until later in the year and in the process. Some teams get it early, some teams don't. You get the eggs, sometimes you get the shells. I mean, this comes down to knowing your technique. Okay? Look, I'll say it again. When you're a young football player and you were in college, like I was never blocked in college. Nobody blocked me. Nobody did, because I was too strong and too fast. You get to the pros, they're too strong, too fast. But those guys are exceptionally gifted technicians. You know the difference between a college program and a pro team. The worst pro team in the league. You know, it's funny. I'll give you guys a story. I went up to Green Bay, and I played the Packers. We went up to Lambeau. And I said, the Packers have 4 wins. They fucking suck. Holy shit. I couldn't believe how good they were. And I was like, and I realized, you know the difference between being 6-10 and 10-6 is? 10 plays a game. They're good too. I was like, holy cow. Then when you play a team like the Chicago Bears or the Niners with Joe Montana, and you're watching Montana, he's like a guy at an orchestra where he's leading the band. These guys go up and down the field. You're like, holy shit. I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, when you got Jerry Rice and Roger Craig and Montana on the field, you have no one. And the guy does this. Black 80, Black 80. That was the audible. Everyone on the field knew they were going to Rice. Couldn't stop it. You heard defenses do this. Oh, my God. Tell you what, Jerry Rice ran a 4.75 at the combines. You tune on any tape, I've never seen Rice caught from behind. Skill, technique, knowing where you're lining up. I'll tell you what, like I said about my wife's team, 9 players knew where to line up. She had 17. They didn't know where to line up. That's the key to this. I can beat you, and I can beat talent anytime with guys who know what they're doing versus the more skilled players, especially if those skilled players are off the reservation. Knowing what to do, and that's what that Eagle defense was. Last year, they weren't the best players. They were the most versatile players. That's how good they were. I'm hoping I'm clearing up the obstacles you have here. Sills, the line about your best ability is your availability doesn't just mean injuries. There are plenty of healthy guys who are not available because of the situational. That's right. Get this. If Vic Fangio finds out, I told you this yesterday, you know what rookie minicamp is? They're going to give you a playbook the size of a Tokyo phone book. And they're going to give you that, and they're going to go 43 banjo cover with a slight twist, and I want I want an X twist in the middle. You know what those players will do? 90% of them will go, what is he talking about? 10% of those players will pick it up and retain the information. Those are the people. Get this. Would you rather trust the more gifted athlete or the one athlete who retains the knowledge that you're teaching him on what you're expected to do on your playbook? Who would you start? The more gifted athlete like a Devin White? Or would you play a guy like Trotter who knew where to line up all the time? What would you do? Who would you start? The more gifted athlete? Or would you start the athlete who knew where he was supposed to be at all times? Who would you start? I'd start Trotter. So you'd start a lesser top. Well, that lesser guy at least knows where to fucking line up. I'm not going to put the best athlete out there running around like a jackass and hurting my scheme of my defense. Coaches don't think like that. That the fastest way, like Bob Brown just said, the fastest way not to play is to not know where you're supposed to be on the play. That's why lesser players play. Zach Bond got a chance. Why? They gave Devin White $4 million, $5 million bucks. Why did Devin White get beat out by Zach Bond? Because he was versatile, he could be coached, and he knew what the nuances of the zone defense were. Then all of a sudden, he just filled in. Players can do that. You know, usually 6 years in, you know what the guy is. The problem in New Orleans, they never put him in a role. It's not that hard, guys. You know, people watch football way differently than guys like Seth Joyner and me. I don't see Ty Robinson and Moro Jomo the way you guys do on a depth chart. I look at them, and you know what the players in the locker room, you know what Clint Hurt and I talk about, the D-line coach of the Eagles? You know the number one thing? Conditioning. Who's going to be in great shape showing up to camp? Who's not going to be in great shape? Why? Again, I love using my kid because she's a great example. My daughter's the best conditioned athlete on the planet. You know what that means? You'll never be tired mentally. When you're fat and out of shape and you're the 13th pick in the draft, that's no excuse. You don't have to be a gifted athlete to be in shape. Takes no talent to be in shape. Zero. You know what it takes? Accountability. And when the lights aren't on and no one's watching, that's an internal engine light, like a pilot light that goes on. Hey, I don't feel I'm in good enough shape. You wake up at 3:30 in the morning and you have meltdowns going, I don't know, man. I felt like I was a little out of shape. No. So all these new guys are facing everything that I just went over with you guys. Conditioning. Why do you think what was the one thing that people kept saying that Vic Fangio did to Jordan Davis and to Jalen Carter? You know, remember they were running after practice during training camp, and they were running after practice all year because they didn't feel they were getting the conditioning that they needed. And Vic didn't feel the team conditioning was good enough. And that's why Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter had a great year, is because Clint Hurt worked their fucking asses off. The year previous, they went with the group, and as soon as the drill was over, they went home. And that's why they got ran over. I'll tell you one of the most important things I learned when I was at the University of Miami with Jimmy Johnson. And then it happened in Dallas. We ran these 16-110s. I'm not sure I ever made them. But I know this. There was nobody better shape than me. Ever. Or us. We ran you off the field. Then with our exceptional talents, we killed you. IQ, versatility, conditioning, all matters to Vic. And that's why you were the number one ranked defense in pro football last year by a lot. By a lot. Hey, and Abe, IQ, versatility, and conditioning, recreating that is going to be a monumental task with all the new faces that you have on your roster. Okay? Tell you this. Let's take all the stupid shit that AJ does. In condition, knocks the hell out of people in the secondary. He's a jump ball expert. And I'll tell you what, on third down, throwing the football to him, he's taken over for DeAndre Hopkins as the best third down wideout for me in pro football. Why? Because you can't get him on the ground. And they're so afraid of his blocking. When you look at A.J. Brown, they're afraid of his blocking. That's why the run game was so good a year ago. Why? Because he was knocking guys out in Tennessee for Derrick Henry. When A.J. Brown is on the field, and you got a guy like that out there, this guy's been knocking guys out in a second. You got to have your head on a swivel. He'll knock you out. He's looking for guys not knowing their techniques. And that's how you deplete people. There's always somebody in the locker, and there's always somebody on the field who has a lesser understanding of what's being asked of him. Look at this guy. This guy thinks you got time. You don't got time. You got 6 months. Let me see. May, June. You got 3 months to training camp. 3 months to training camp. To replace that defense. By the way, guys, throughout this whole process that we've talked, we kind of kidded around. Let me ask you what and how important this is. You think your offense would be the same without Barkley? One player. One player. You think it'd be the same without Barkley? Okay. Bob, you think your offense would be the same without AJ? Okay. Would it be the same without AJ? Not both, one. Okay. Would your defense be the same without Bond? Would your defense be the same without Carter? You think your defense will be the same, though, without Sweat and Milton? That's a crazy thought. Okay? Well, it's an irrelevant question for people who don't know what they're listening to. So to you, it's probably irrelevant. Why would you know? You sit around jerking off all day. What would you know? It probably is an irrelevant question. Hey, what I'm saying to you, now, here, let's go on the other side and say this. Do you have the right coaches? Do you have the personnel in the room this year to get that done? I don't know. Vic doesn't know. No one in here knows. How would you know? That the coordinator doesn't know. We talk about the defense a lot, but to be honest, our offense should be putting up 30 points per game, and our D should only need to take to make 3 stops. Here's the thing, Mikey. That's going to be more evident this year. But last year, they went unconventional. They ran you over. What was great about it is that what I loved about your offense a lot was that you told them where you were running. We're going to run off tackle. Barkley's going to run counters, and Hurts is going to be on the field, and you're going to have a dual threat opportunity and an attack on the run game. And here's where we're running. And they still couldn't stop it. You don't have to be flashy when they can't stop it. Hey, you know I'm an arm wrestling guy. If I can pull you down, no matter what you're going to do, you're going down because I'm just a better arm wrestler than you. I'm just a better arm wrestler. Hey, yeah, well, I have a really great tech. Yeah, okay, but that won't matter. That's what the Eagles did a year ago. Okay? Patula, the first time calling plays, it's going to be something else too, Sells. Like I said, too, in that right there, when you have somebody like Kevin Patula, first-time play caller, let me ask you this. Abe, let's use something that's pretty technical and pretty scary. So if you were in an airplane, and the co-pilot had been a co-pilot for 10 years, and he had been to this one pilot, his co-pilot, for 10 years, and the pilot moves on, and that's your first flight as the main guy. How you feel about getting on that airplane? I think he's competent. Are you still nervous? Would you still be nervous, Abe, if you found out? Or here, I'll give you another one. Guy was an assistant on a open heart surgery. Okay? Open heart surgery. Guy was an assistant to an open heart surgeon. And you're his first patient, where he's going to be the main dude in cutting you open and giving you open heart surgery. How you feeling about that? How you feel? He's qualified. He's competent. He's got all the degrees. He's been in the operating room with the guy. Wait a minute. He's been in the operating room for 10 years with the guy. And he knows the procedure. You know what I'm saying? Kevin Patullo, he's been with the open heart surgeon for 10 years. Why are you feeling upset? You're the first patient. How you feeling about going on the table? And that's your first. You're his first guy. Hey, right? How do you feel about it? Guy's been in the building. Yeah, but wait a minute. Has he ever had an open heart surgery? No. I'm his first guy? I don't know. How you feel about that? And that's hey, knowing M. Reyes, that's perfect for his ass. Sign me up. You never fucking did it. Hey, you must have stayed overnight at a Holiday Inn Express. Hey, you did. Hey, we're ready. Here's M. Reyes. Dude, you never had open heart surgery? You never did it before? No. Where'd you sleep the night before? At a Holiday Inn Express. Shit, sign me up. Let's go. Open me up, bitch. Guy better have steady hands. Yeah. Sills, give me the parachute. There you go. Look at that. That's my boy. Well, this guy, I hope you're not Bill Belichick. Oh, man. Hey, yeah, no, hey, get this. I love how you guys think, Eagle fans. The new tight end, too. What's like Malachi Carr is like the new starting TE for the Eagles. And hey, you know what? Fuck it. If a guy, he's an open heart surgeon, he's a surgeon. I'm his first patient. I'm ready to rock, Kevin Patullo. Open me up. Go right ahead, man. Hey, wait a minute. This is your first airplane flying? Yeah, I was in the cockpit with the with the captain for 10 years. So where are we flying? We're flying to LA from Philly. Have you ever landed a plane? Yeah, you know, a Cessna. We're in a 747. No, I know, but hey, I've been in the building. Okay, I mean, shit, I've been in there. Kevin Patullo, you know, he was around Kellen Moore. He was around Nussmeier and Jalen and Nick. But shit, you've never landed a plane? Cessna and a couple other, you know, a G8, you know, we're good. So you've never flown a plane? No, but this is the first one. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, Joe, give me another plane flight. Yeah. Yeah, hey, co-pilot's involved in the day-to-day too. So is open heart surgeon's assistant. They're involved in the day-to-day. Absolutely. Bad take. No, you're right. That's probably the bad take. The guy who's never called plays before is the point I'm trying to make. Try to follow along. I know it's more of a complex conversation we're having today here, Callie Green. You're used to people taking a shit on you even more. Today, we won't that much. Okay? Hey, look. Here's Kevin Patullo getting on to fly a plane. Hey, you gonna fly that bitch across the country. So who's this new tight end guy? Malachi Carr, the brand new starting tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles. Damn. Hey, I went to go look at the roster. Wait a minute. Let me look at the depth chart. What's his name? They got Calcaterra. They got Keelan Granson. Who? Kylan? Harrison Bryant. Calcaterra. I can't goof on him too much. He's a paisan. And there's old Dallas Goedert still. All right. Who's this guy? Malachi Carr? Malika? Holy shit. Hey, so wait, before I get Xander on here, what do we have on the list of guys over the next 2 years you're going to address before you get to Jordan? 7? 7 guys in the next 2 years before you're going to get to Two-Down Davis. Is that right? And you're going to pay that guy $17 million? Holy piss. And like I told you, too, the cap ain't going up enough compared to the salaries on the Eagles. I showed you what it is. Salaries are going up between 9.3 and 11.2%, which is $20 million. So we're talking the next 2 years, we're talking that the cap would be, right now it's 279, so it's 280. It would be 300 next year and then 320 after that. And you got 7 guys just on defense alone. What about Hurts' new contract? Let me get to Jordan. Hey, you know where homie's going to be playing? Tennessee Titans. Wait a minute, I got to get somewhere down south there for Xander because I know he'll root for the kid. Carolina Panthers. Oh, man. This is good. Here we go. All right. Hey. Did you guys understand a little bit what I was saying about defenses? And that one of the greatest assets that you guys had was that you didn't have to have substitution packages because you had guys that were all 3-down versatile guys. This year, you got to have guys playing multiple positions with multiple players. It's a different look. And Vic knows this. All right. Without further ado, hey, man, I'll tell you, I think we've kind of convinced people on this Jordan Davis stuff right here. Hey, come on, what are we doing here, man? I mean, you know, come on. Okay? Oh, and I'm going to start this off with Big Z. I'm going to set it up here, and then we're going to bring him on. Jahad Campbell will have 0 impact on this football team this year. Want to make a bet on it? Let me write it down. May 2nd. Jahad Campbell will have zero impact on this football team this year. I'm going to have to call the Tunnel for Towers guys to help this guy out here. Without further ado, let's bring in our guy, Big Z, Xander Krause.
What's up, Big Sills?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
How much impact do you think Jahad Campbell has this year?
Cooper DeJean, he comes in after week 4 and has an impact after that. But I think it's going to take a little bit longer than we're thinking. And week 4, incoming Jahad Campbell, Vic Fangio's newest weapon.
So a guy who had a hamstring injury in Cooper DeJean versus a guy who took shrapnel in the Korean War, coming in with 2 shoulders and 2 knees, is going to have more of an impact, and he's not going to go through training camp. From what does John say about that, about training camp? Because Howie doesn't think he's going to be ready for training camp even.
I don't think he's doing training camp. I don't think he'll be ready for training camp. I think you're talking week 4. It's where I came from. I think it's week 4. I think it's going to be
but
not
Cooper
quite
played.
week 1. What's that?
Cooper was in camp during.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah,
no, he wasn't.
He got hurt in the Ravens game.
Sills. Cooper
got hurt in
DeJean.
the Ravens preseason game.
Sills. Cooper was not in training camp.
He got hurt in the Ravens preseason game.
Is that right?
Yes. He played in that Ravens game.
No, during off-season training. He missed the first 3 weeks of training camp. Wrong.
He played in the Ravens. He played in that Ravens preseason.
No, Sills. No, he didn't. No.
Guys, look it up. He played.
I just looked it up. I'm reading it to you.
I saw him in the game.
No, you didn't, Sills. It's a figment of your imagination. You must have been dreaming about it like the other night when you were thinking about the birds.
Here, look at it. Did Cooper DeJean? He did.
No.
Did Cooper DeJean play in that Ravens preseason game? Did Cooper DeJean play in that Ravens preseason?
Is correct.
Preseason game. Yes, Cooper DeJean did play in the preseason game against the Ravens. He made his preseason debut on August 24th, 2024.
That was after he got back from the
hamstring
thing?
Yep.
And then what? He tweaked it again?
No, they didn't feel he was ready to rock, and they wanted to keep him out, and they kept him.
Hey, listen, if you're right, you're right. I didn't think he played. Howie kind of set that narrative up there this week, when he was like, well, Cooper DeJean, same thing happened last year. So I know he didn't play, obviously, the most meaningful games, which was the first 4 games of the year. But
no, if you remember right, they played him a little bit, and they didn't feel he was back all the way. And what they did was they held him, and then they put him in after the bye. I think that was Minnesota. Was that right? I can't remember. Or was that Cleveland? I can't remember the game that was after
I don't remember last year's preseason that well.
No, I just remember
you're talking about the
first time. That was the first time I saw Cooper on the field.
Cleveland. It was Cleveland. Week 5.
Okay, it was Cleveland.
Yeah, it was Cleveland.
Okay.
After bye week.
So he had a little bit of preseason, but not. Look, dude. If I'm not mistaken, I think that Ravens game was actually the last week before the regular season, right? So he didn't really have a lot of preseason. Right, because I agree with you. He got hurt, but this guy.
I know he missed most of training camp though. He didn't do training camp,
so he's not going to do OTAs mini, and he's not going to do training camp. So he's going to be further behind here a little bit.
Probably, yeah, probably. But listen, if he's a damn good player, imagine if we judged Cooper DeJean on where he was in the training camp last year. You know what I mean? He was a huge impact for our defense. Now, I'm not saying Jahad's going to have that level of impact, but I do think he's that good of a player. So if it translates to the NFL, I don't think you're worried too much about him missing time early. I will say that I'm a little bit like you. You know, you spend a first round pick on a guy, and then a couple days later, it's like 2 knees, 2 shoulders. Like what? Like, you know, you're running out of limbs to hurt.
And my problem is they're not really identifying what they're and how they're going to use them. You know, I mean, I'd be like, okay, so you're going to put him off ball. You're going to put him where?
Yeah, but John keeps telling me off ball, but he's not going to be the middle linebacker.
Okay. So where are you playing him?
That's my point about the whole gimmick thing. But I don't know. I guess you're lining him up on the outside in a joker and in all sorts of those different sub packages. I mean, look, Vic does live in sub packages way longer than he lives in base. So maybe that's more important. But I've been saying, who is coming off the field? Is it Jalix Hunt? Like, who comes off the field to get you Hod Campbell on the field? Let's just say right now, okay, you're in a 3-4. You got Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Moro Ajomo, Nolan Smith, and Jalix Hunt are your front 5. You got you got Bond and Dean. Let's just say Dean's healthy for the sake of the conversation as your linebackers, your 2 safeties, and your 2 corners. Who comes off the field for Campbell?
Are you playing
Jalix? Right?
Are you playing a nickel?
I'm assuming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your front 4 is Carter, Davis, Moro Jomo, and Nolan Smith in your nickel. Your second level is Q, Cooper, Bond, N'Kobe at the will, and Keeley at the other corner. And your 2 high are Reed and Christian McCullum. Where are you putting the kid? You going to put him in for Dean? Or are you going to put him in for
Dean
Nolan?
or Jalix Hunt? No.
Well, Jalix Hunt's not going to start in nickel. Remember, it's 5 DBs.
Yeah, right. 5 DBs in nickel.
See, look, that's what I'm saying about him. That's a nickel. That's your nickel right now.
Yeah, and that's what we spend way more time in nickel than we do anything else.
70% of the time. So my question would be, your end is Carter. It's Davis at nose. It's Jomo at tackle. And your end is Nolan. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's the 11 personnel that you have here. And so I would ask you, I'd go, okay, I mean, where are you putting him? Are you going to bring
Bob says he goes in for Nolan, better in coverage. Yeah, I figured it would be one of the front guys, though.
You're going to take Nolan out?
You're going to take Cooper DeJean off the field?
Okay. No, I'm not taking him out. And I'm not dropping him in the nickel.
Okay, so who are you taking off the field?
N'Kobe Dean. And I'm putting Campbell.
Does that give you as much versatility, though, with the player?
I don't know that. Like,
you know, now you're only rushing him if you're blitzing.
Bro, I agree. That's a great comment by you because look at here. I don't know if he's as versatile as N'Kobe.
Yeah, but Curtis is also right. That would mean Nolan's on the bench 70% of the snaps.
Where are you playing him? That's why I'm asking here. I looked up the nickel personnel for the
No, you're right. You hit the nail on the head with the nickel personnel.
Where are you playing him? Are you really going to take Nolan Smith out?
This is what I've been trying to get out of John. You worded it better than I did, so I didn't get it out of John. Got to go back to him on this.
See, look.
By the way, speaking of John, we're going to do by the way, everybody's excited about the rookies. So we're going to do a rookie report tonight, 6 p.m. All right. Probably 6 p.m., but maybe a little earlier, depending on
Tell me if I'm wrong with what I've lined up here for you.
Coop, who do you have on the defensive line? Do you have Jordan Davis up there? I can't really read.
I got Jordan Davis at the nose.
You got Davis, Carter, Nolan, and
Moro Jomo.
Okay.
And then your second level is Nolan Smith. Okay, up to your second level is Ringo, Dean.
I think you're taking off one of those edge rushers. You're moving Ajomo to the middle, get Jordan Davis out of there, and put Campbell as one of the front 4.
So you would put Campbell over at the Ajomo rush.
Yeah, but Ajomo should be probably where Jordan Davis is. Because Jordan Davis is probably Jordan Davis is in a node and he's not playing nose and nickel, right?
No, but again, remember 1, 2, 3, 4. When you play a 4-2-5, that's a nickel. That's nickel defense. The second level has 5 DBs, and you're too high.
Right.
Okay, that's Reed, and as of right now, Tristan McCullum. Okay.
No, it's not Tristan McCullum. It's Sidney Brown before. It's not going to be Tristan McCullum.
That's who Vic likes.
Sidney was hurt last year.
I think Christian McCullum's a better ball player.
Okay, you do, but that's not who it's going to be on the depth chart.
Okay, Sidney Brown.
They didn't sign Andrew Makuba or draft Andrew Makuba, and people are like, who's going to play, Tristan McCullum or Makuba? No, it's Sidney Brown or Makuba.
Let's put Makuba back there.
Okay, good. Go Makuba. I think Makuba wins that job anyway. Sidney Brown doesn't impress me as a safety.
Okay, my point again is, okay, so Makuba and Reed are your two highs. You're taking a spot of CJ. Your corners are Q. Your nickelback is Cooper DeJean. Your Mike is Zach Bond. Your Will is Dean. And your outside guy is Keely Ringo over there at the corner. Down here in your front four, it's Carter, Davis, Ajomo, and Smith. Where the fuck you playing this guy?
Yeah, this is my question. Are you playing him on the front? Are you playing him in the front four? That's the only spot I see to put him in.
I think they're going to play him at the Nakobe spot in nickel. But I don't believe.
Yeah, but isn't Nakobe the middle linebacker in nickel?
I don't know. Where are they playing him? You know, I heard John.
Yeah, this is where I think is honestly probably likely. Brandon says, I'm moving Bond to middle linebacker and moving Campbell in at off ball or weak side, whatever.
So you're benching Nakobe, who was good on 3 downs? Are you sure Jihad Campbell's a 3-down player?
No, I'm not sure. But I'm sure that Nakobe Dean is.
I know that, right? I know Nakobe shows me that he's a 3-down guy.
Well, at the end of the year last year, Nolan Smith was a 3-down guy too. He was good against the run.
Okay. Bro, I'm not arguing anything. I'm asking you.
I'm not. I know. I'm in agreement with you in that I think this is a complicated addition to the defense. It's not just like Josh Sweat's gone, so you slot in a new edge. It's not like that.
Right. I mean, your front four, as of right now, is Carter, Davis, Moro Ajomo, and Nolan Smith. If we're talking nickel here, you're going to go 5.
Drozone's interesting because he says it's simple. No, not that. Sorry, Drozone. Wrong one. Callie Green says Fangio could use him as a blitz wild card. Yeah, but then are you only getting him on the
for who?
No, but then you're talking about like super sub packages. Now he's barely going to be on the field.
Where are you putting Jalix Hunt in this nickel package? You got
coming off of our defense last year, okay, and how good it was and what they ran to be successful. Could you make an argument that Vic Fangio made a mistake wanting an Andrew Van Ginkel? Because it's kind of, in a way, based on the way we're looking at this, isn't it a little bit going to blow up some of the structure that he had on last year's defense and force him to, go to different sub packages? Now, you could make the argument it makes him more versatile, but how much more versatile do we need to get when we were the number 1 defense in football?
Do you believe right now here's where I'm going. Do you believe that they are 1,000% sold on Nolan Smith?
Nolan Smith, 1,000% sold? No, he's played 9 good games.
How much on a scale of 1 to 10 do you think they're sold on it?
Well, I think there's a curve on his grade inside the organization simply because they like draft picks. They like, homegrown guys, and they did just let a bunch of defensive linemen walk out the door. I'd like to think that they want to keep, some of these young dudes around for a while. So I think 60%. I think they're 60% of the way there.
Okay, then let's do this. Why not put Nolan Smith at the will for Nakobe Dean and drop your guy Jihad Campbell or Jalix Hunt on that other end in your nickel?
You think Nolan Smith can cover like Dean, though?
Well, I think he's shown versatility like it.
He's definitely shown versatility, but Nakobe Dean, I mean, he's not that bad in coverage. Now, he's not great, but nobody's great at linebacker.
You said something today. This is where this topic came from. Once again, expanding your topic.
Yeah, you're good at this.
Okay? You go like this. Josh Sweat wasn't the best guy on the planet at pass rushing. He wasn't the best run stopper. He wasn't really all that hot when it came to dropping in coverage. But you know what he was good at? And what the Eagles were the best across the board. They had the best personnel and most versatile personnel of any football team defensively in the league last year because they didn't have to go to substitute packages and they were never caught with their pants down on the field because they could sit there and go 4-2-5, 43, 34. They could do so many different things because every guy on the field, except for one guy, that was Jordan Davis, was a 3-down player. Do you not agree? Every guy you had on the team, the field last year defensively, was a 3-down guy.
Yeah, for the most part. That's why Bryce Huff barely played at the end of the year because he wasn't a 3-down guy, so Vic went away from him.
That's right. Okay.
And the only time they really used Jordan was when they went in the 5-man front, which was rare.
And there's only 3 question marks on my lineup here that are questionable. And if they're 3-down guys, Keely Ringo, well, the rookie kid, okay, and Nolan Smith. If you want to go traditional, there's a bunch of them. You're going to play left end. Moro Jomo, for me, that's your nickel guy because he's a better as of right now, than Ty Robinson. I just had a big question after listening to you guys. Well, where the fuck are you playing this guy? I mean, if he, because you said it. Okay, well, and the gadget comment, I know what you meant. You're like this. Are you going to have to create a new position for the guy on this defense to utilize his skill set like they did back in the day with Hugh Douglas when Jim Johnson made that role for him back? Because he didn't play.
I'm not sure if I'm a fan of this philosophy of going away from what you just did so well, just to draft a gadget guy. Whatever, even if he's not a gadget guy, even if he's the greatest gadget guy in the world and who can play 100% of the snaps, how much do you have to change the defense to get to that?
Again,
how much? I'm asking you. What do you think?
Well, I got to first figure out where he's going to play.
Well, where do you see him playing? You taking Dean off the field?
Yeah. That's the only
that makes the most sense.
That's right. Because, hey, dude, do you think that guy can
what if I told you this? And I know this isn't unproven right now. What if I told you it works out really well with the player and he's really good at getting to the quarterback? That changes who you take off the field, no?
I'm taking Smith off the field.
Smith?
Are you going to take Jalen Carter?
No.
Okay.
What about the other 2 defensive linemen? You got Jomo and Davis out there.
You're gonna move Jihad Campbell inside.
No, outside. A Jomo and Carter in the middle.
Well, wait a minute. Remember, you got to stay inside the scheme of a nickel. You can't just start adding guys and putting a position. That's the fundamental scheme of a nickel defense.
Yeah, so you have 2 edges there, though.
Right. Carter and Smith.
Well, you can't move Carter inside? Because there's not really a nose in nickel.
Okay, so you want to move him for Davis, and then
wait, answer me this, and you know this better than I do.
Okay.
When you're in nickel, you don't have a nose, right? You have 2-3 techniques, basically.
Yes.
That's what I'm viewing. A Jomo Carter.
Carter's off.
Now I have Nolan on the edge.
Davis
Campbell on the other edge.
You're right.
Right? Am I reading that right?
No, you're right. What you would do is you would slide Carter inside to Davis, Carter. And then you would drop Jihad or Jalix Hunt out here, and those would be your pass rushers. A Jomo and Carter, and then right here, you're going to have, again, that's another substitute package.
Right.
See, that's what Sweat,
you really got to change up a lot for this, man. Unless there also might be a scenario
A year ago, you didn't.
Are we giving Moro Jomo too much credit? I mean, he's guaranteed out on that field.
He's a better pass rusher. Well, who else are you going to play?
He's a way better pass rusher than Jordan Davis. That's the issue and here again lies the issue with the Jordan Davis conversation, right? Because if he's that good of a player, you're paying him that money, and then he can be your guy even when you have a 4-man front. But right now, it doesn't make sense to have Jordan Davis on the field if you have a 4-man front.
Look at here. All right, Prince. That's a nickel scheme. Where are you playing him? You're going to slide Carter inside. And you're going to put him at that defensive end spot?
What
John
is
Campbell?
Prince saying no, we don't to?
He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. That's why.
What are you
I
saying?
mean-
No, we don't to, Prince. No, we don't what?
No, right? I'm only asking the question. Where you playing him?
He's saying this. He's saying we're overcomplicating it, and we're
No,
moving
I'm not.
Sweat
I'm
for
not-
either Campbell
Well,
or Hunt.
how am I over?
That's basically what I just said, Prince. Move the guys in, move the tackles inside, and put.
Overcomplicating what? I'm asking you where you're playing them. And so I'm saying this. A year ago, you didn't have to go and have multiple substitution packages. Why? Because Sweat could do it all. So could Milton. Now you have to change up, moving out Davis and sliding down Carter and bringing either Hunt or JAKIB Campbell.
Well, no, because you replaced Josh Sweat with the Jomo.
Making what up? How is that a fucking makeup when that's your lineup for nickel, dickhead?
I know, but Sills, what are you not getting what they're saying? They're saying put him on the outside.
Okay. So
on
Davis
the edge. On the edge.
Okay, so Davis is coming off the field 70% of the time.
Yes, he's already off the field 70% of the time. He played 35% of the snaps last year.
So now, and here's what you did last year. You slid Carter in. Josh still stayed there. Milton stayed there. You didn't have as many substitution packages that you're going to have this year. In your front seven. Am I right?
So what, let me ask you, what seed of doubt are you planting on this?
I'm asking you. I mean, do you not agree? You're asking a couple guys. You're going to have two guys play one position on Milton and also on Sweat and replacing these men because those guys stayed on the field and they were 3-down players. Moro Jomo's really not a 3-down guy. And you got to take Davis off the football field, and you got to hope that JAKIB Campbell, with no training camp, is going to go out there and he's going to be an edge setter in there at defensive end where Carter's going to slide inside.
It's fair to say this. We are relying on either Jalix Hunt or JAKIB Campbell to be able to fill the shoes of Josh Sweat, right? He's gone. And then obviously you need a tandem of a Jomo and Davis to be what Milton Williams was. But in a way that already fits, that already works itself out because last year Davis wasn't an every down player. So the interior of the defensive line already worked itself out last year. That rotation doesn't change other than the players. A Jomo moves up. Robinson probably falls into where a Jomo was last year. And then you have Davis as the nose, Carter is the other tackle, and probably Thomas Booker. But last year, Jalen Carter played almost all the snaps. So if he's able to do that again, really you're just having a rotation between Davis, Ajomo, and Booker and Robinson.
With all the new faces that have not been in your building, how long do you think that thing takes to cook?
Well, I mean, we thought it was going to take a long time last year, and technically we had more moving parts last year.
But those guys were all in the building last year for 3 or more.
No. Well, the guys on the front, yes, not the secondary guys. So the secondary has more continuity this year. Well, you lost Slay and you lost Gardner Johnson. Really, don't really have much continuity there either. So
you lost half your D line and you lost half of your secondary. Yes.
Okay. If you bring up that diagram one more time, and you don't have to, but I'm just saying, if you think about it one more time, there it is. And let's say Nakobe Dean's not ready for week 1. Who do you have replacing him on that? Because that also throws a wrench on, do you want to just replace Nakobe Dean with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. or Smile Munden? Or do you now want to play Campbell back there and keep Jalix Hunt on the field?
This is why I think Vic this weekend and this training
gives you good versatility.
But you won't know that throughout the entire OTAs or mini camp and training camp of what to do with Campbell yet because you don't know where he fits. You have no idea. You're only drawing it up on a painting right now on where he might fit.
Yeah, I know.
You've got to see him being able to comprehend this, and if he is even a guy who you can put out there and trust at the defensive end position that can set the edge. That's not his natural position. He was an off-ball linebacker inside when you watch those Baldinger clips of him, dude, he ran to the football exceptionally. He's a really good-looking football player, and I like the guy. So now you're going to ask him to go out because you believe in his ability to go out and play end and set that edge and probably play on the strong side against tackles and tight ends. Coming off of a shoulder and 2 knee injuries, you're asking him to go out there and set an edge. Okay.
I agree with you. That's an uphill battle. But here's what I will say. I don't think it has anything to do with the talent of the player.
I know.
I think this player is going to exceed expectations from a talent and a player standpoint, very much so. My concern with him is how much does the injuries hinder until he can get to that point? Last year with Cooper DeJean, it was the first 4 weeks. How much is it going to be with Campbell? Is it 3 weeks? Is it 1 week? Is he ready for week 1? Especially with no training camp you're talking about. So how much longer, remember, DeJean missed training camp last year. We kind of said that 3 weeks of training camp he missed, factor in 3 weeks of the season he's going to miss. So is it the same with Campbell? I don't know what it's going to be, but I think when he gets ready, I think he's going to make that defense maybe even better. But the only thing I don't like about it is how much do you have to change what you did last year to get him on the field? That would be my biggest question with him right now.
There's a lot of change because you're going to have multiple substitution packages here. But I would say this to you, you brought something up. How much do you think Nolan Smith and with Nakobe Dean, that injuries have played a factor in their time with the Eagles, let alone the fact that we'll just not even mention their ability? How do you think that's played a factor in their time so far in Philadelphia? Because nobody's
Dean?
Dean and Smith, nobody's really questioning the fact that they can play. They're all talking about undersized ends, which Vic brings up every press conference, and Dean's availability. And also, now you're talking about another guy, not talking about ability. Nobody's talking about ability with these 3 players. Okay? We're talking about availability. Can you build the defense around 3 players that you have question marks on health?
I think Dean's gone after this year. I do. I don't think he fits.
Not because he's not good.
No, but it's because can't stay healthy. One, and I don't think it's only that. Milton Williams was good. We didn't keep him here. Why? Well, the puzzle didn't break his way, right? Jalen Carter's going to get paid similar to how Zach Bond got paid last year. I think that Kobe Dean could be a first-team All-Pro this year, and which he's not going to be. But and he wouldn't get paid here because they already paid Bond. And now you just drafted Mundan, which proves to you they brought in another body, okay, to be another, middle linebacker. They already have Trotter on deck. So you basically have your 1 and your 2 with life after Nakobe Dean. I don't think they pay him long-term. The Nolan Smith question is interesting. Like, let me pose something to you. If he comes out there and puts 12 sacks, I know it's lofty. I understand it's lofty. Okay. But let's just say the next stage of his career, he takes that next step and he's a double-digit sack guy for the Eagles next year. How much are you paying him next year?
Well,
it's a year and a half of production, and he's been injured so far, 3 times?
Yes. He's hurt now.
He's hurt. Yeah, he's coming off he had triceps, whatever it was, after the Super Bowl.
Here, let me ask you that. Wait, let me expand on that. So in the next 2 years, are you addressing Nolan Smith's contract?
You got to, unless you want to let the edge market go crazy. Or do you play it like Jordan Davis? Pick up the 5th-year option, drag it out for another 3 years, and move on from him after that.
Okay. Are you addressing the Reed Blankenship contract extension?
I think you probably are, because he's the guy who does the communication on the back end for Vic Fangio, and I think Vic values him more than most people think.
Next 2 years. Remember, this is next 2 years.
I know.
Are you addressing Cooper DeJean's contract extension in the next 2 years?
I think 2 years from now, yes. 2 off seasons from now, they'll extend him, because then he'd be going. Remember, he doesn't have the 5th-year option, so he'd be going into his final year. You're probably talking about an extension then.
Okay. Quinyon Mitchell, next 2 years.
I think 3, but yeah.
Okay. Jalen Carter, obviously, this offseason here, right? Okay. So,
Jalen Carter a year from today, yeah. He'll be next summer.
Nakobe Dean, you got to address it.
He's gone.
Next 2 years.
I don't even think you can pay everybody I just said to pay.
Would you even extend him?
Nakobe?
How about this? Wait, he's a 3rd rounder. You don't have to. Okay. So I'm down to 7 for Jordan Davis. The seventh guy that I'm going to address on a contract extension is the seventh guy.
Yeah, and if we watch what they're doing, which was draft 5 straight defensive guys in the draft, something would tell me that they're probably going to let more of these guys walk than we think. But who? Who do you feel comfortable letting walk? Again, these are all future problems. It's next year's problem and 2 years from now, but it's still interesting to think about.
But here's the issue. We're talking about something right now the Eagles are looking at right now because of the way that they've acted this offseason, and they've addressed it numerous times in the way they've expressed it to the fan base and to the media on what they're doing for 26 and 27. So when you say that, Xander, we're only doing what the Eagles are addressing. The Eagles are addressing this right now. So that's why we're addressing it right now over the next 2 years. That's why when I say, here, Jordan Davis, there's not a chance in hell he gets a contract, a 3-year contract extension. When I got Nolan Smith,
I don't even know how you're going to pay Reed.
Cooper DeJean.
I mean, look, Shady brings up an interesting point, but Shady, this is the question. This is what makes it hard. How far are they going to go? Because right now they've showed you offense is their priority. So are you telling me, Shady, that they're going to flip it, pay the defense, then start drafting 5 straight offensive players to fill the holes with rookie contracts? No way. And by the way, unless Hurts' game goes to shit, he's not going anywhere. In fact, he's probably getting a pay raise next summer.
That's right.
So AJ, I could see, at some point that says,
I think next offseason will be the start of the sand dial starting on his ass.
Brian's also right. Howie's been loading up on picks. 12 picks next year.
Bro, check this out. It's funny you should say that. Look at this. Here's the Eagles' picks. They got their own 1. They got their own 2. They got their own 3. They've got the 3rd rounder in the Reddick deal and a projection on Milton Williams, 3rd. So let me tell you right now, just right there, top 3 rounds. You got a 1, a 2, and 3 threes. As of right now. Then you have your own 4. Then you have the projected comp pick for Josh Sweat at 4. You got 2 4s. Then you go 1, 2, 3, 4 5s. Your own, the Texans, the Falcons, and the Mekhi Becton that you're getting on a comp pick in 5. And
yeah, we might lose 1 comp pick, by the way.
Why?
What contract? Yeah, the Becton contract.
Why? What's wrong with that one?
No, excuse me. The Adoree Jackson signing, because we spent $4 million on him. So I think it nullifies the Isaiah Rodgers comp pick or the Becton, one of them.
Maybe the Becton. Okay.
Maybe the Becton. I don't think, we didn't get a comp pick for Isaiah, right? Did we?
No.
It's the Becton comp pick. We're going to lose that one.
And then you get your own 7. So, okay, that out there, we may lose that one, but right now you have 12 picks.
Yeah.
You have 1, 1, a 2, 3 3s, 2 4s, 4 5s, maybe 4 4s, 4 5s, and a 7. Bro.
3 3s and 2 4s, man, is really good.
Yeah, because then you can package those up and get into 2s and 3s with those.
Right.
So what I'm telling you is right now, the decision making on these young players, Jordan Davis, Carter is a non-factor. He's off. I'm not even going to keep it because fuck, man, it's a stupid conversation on what you're doing with him because you know what you're doing with him.
Yeah, you're paying him. You're paying him big money.
Yeah, get this. You're giving that guy a check, and then you're saying fill it in. That's what you're doing with him, okay? So Nolan Smith, Reed, you paying Reed 10? And remember what I said?
I don't know how Reed works. I don't think he works into the pie, bro.
Dude, here's what the Eagles are hoping, I think. That Makuba and Brown look great, and they can move off of Reed. Because then you still got Sidney on a rookie deal, and you got Makuba on a rookie deal. And I don't have to pay Reed.
Are you letting Nolan Smith walk?
He can play. And I think Jahad Campbell and Jalix Hunt will dictate that this year. I think if those two guys,
Right. If Jalix Hunt has a sick year and Jahad Campbell shows he's a
never
player,
in a million years be back.
You don't think they'd bring back Nolan?
If Jalix Hunt looks like he could take the role, and he was a third-round draft choice, and you still got a couple more years with him, they'll let him walk and not address that extension. Now, he was a first-rounder. Maybe you give – but again, you know what that number is, Xander? It's $23 million.
For what?
Fifth year.
For Nolan?
Yep.
That's not that bad.
When you're paying – okay, so then that may not be that bad. 18 for Jordan and 40 for what's his name? And then 10 for Reed.
Reed's going to have to go.
Reed? Wow.
Well, where does he work playing in? Like, who's easier to replace? At the end of the day, I like Reed, but maybe this is what the plan was at safety. We're overthinking it. We're looking for Sidney Brown's replacement. They're thinking Sidney Brown and Andrew Makuba.
Do you think the Eagles are really looking to replace Dean with Jahad Campbell?
No. I think they're looking to replace Dean, but it's not like Jahad Campbell's not just going to be the off-ball linebacker, the middle linebacker. They want him to be what we just explained.
I think so. I think
because dude, he's a very good blitzer.
Yes.
Again, that's rare. Like
great.
Vic doesn't blitz a lot, so don't fall in love with that. But he can do it, and if he shows again that he can get after the quarterback, that really opens up what you can do. Now, if he can't get after the quarterback, the Jahad Campbell pick is going to be very underwhelming, even if he's a great linebacker.
How much does it do this if that he comes in and he has like a Nolan Smith start to his career?
Well, I think he should be given some of that leeway.
Oh, yes.
I mean, even me included, probably jumped the gun on Nolan too quick, where you got to let him develop. But my problem is with the way the defense is now, if Jalix Hunt isn't good, you need Campbell to play.
Well, see, this is why I said this. I go, the free agent market wasn't great. The draft class looks okay, not great. And then you're turning around and you're going like this. Well, the Eagles lost so many faces and have so many new guys coming in to mini camps and to the rookie camp. Was this the right time to gamble on a guy who had 2 shoulder concerns and 2 knee concerns where you weren't going to have his availability until September?
Well,
do you think that's a big –
you think
for a lot of replacements that you have on your defense, do you think he's getting the benefit of the doubt too much where you needed an impact guy right now, don't you think?
Yeah, all right, but hear me out on this. We cover the team every day. All right, we're in the micro. If you zoom out, all right, and I told you, think about the Chiefs or the Eagles right now, but if you didn't cover it every day. The Eagles added an extremely good football player to a roster that just won the Super Bowl and dominated their way to it. Now, you can go in the micro and say, well, we needed a guy that could play right now because the 2025 team doesn't quite have the contract and all those different things. Or you can say the Philadelphia Eagles, who have been one of the best franchises in football in the last 5 years, who have a core that's 26, 27, 28 years old, just added an elite football player. I think they didn't make the wrong move in adding that player. Now, would it be nice if he was ready to contribute in year 1? Obviously. I think everybody wants that. But I don't think you pass up on this opportunity, Sales. You were picking at 31. They talked about they had under 15 guys as a round 1 grade in this NFL draft, and one of them fell. One of them. There wasn't another one there that they had as a round 1 grade. So do you pass on that player? I think because you're world champions, you look at that and you're like, man, this is like a gift to us. But I get it. I get what you're saying. With 5 losses on the defense, you need some guys who are going to play.
Okay. Well, I asked this question 2 weeks ago to you, and I'll ask it again. Howie Roseman's exact comments on Jahad Campbell were this. I wrote them down. His exact comments on this player is this. Howie Roseman, the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles, has publicly stated that drafted linebacker Jahad Campbell is in quotations, there you go there, Jeff McClain, a long-term investment. This suggests that the team anticipates Campbell to be a key player for them for years to come. Not just immediately. Roseman also acknowledged that Campbell might not be ready for the start of training camp and beginning of the season due to his recent shoulder injuries, emphasizing the need for patience and focusing on long-term development. My question to you 2 weeks ago was this, Xander. Sounds like to me, between the contracts and the guy you drafted, they give a shit more about 26 and 27 than they do actually about the immediate 25 season. Because that player, according to how
I don't really think that's
how
true.
he said it. I'm just repeating what he said.
Well, the moves that they made this summer, I agree, will help them more in 26 and 27 than they will in 25. Yeah, but the draft, I mean, you can't look at the draft as I need a guy this year. That's not a bad way to look at a draft, Sileo. Sills, you used to say to me,
year, you don't win the Super Bowl without Q and Cooper being immediate.
Okay, but is that something you can stick to every single year? No, that's an outlier.
I know this.
Well, you used to tell me I'm not grading a draft class till 3 years.
No, but I wanted the kid to be on the fucking practice field for me if
I'm not saying you're wrong about that, but you're now creating an expectation that if he doesn't contribute in year one and it was a bad draft pick, it's not.
No, that's not where I'm at. I'll here. Maybe I didn't make it clear enough. I think they kind of care about 25. I think they care more about the future contracts that are pending. I think they care more about their drafting of the first player. Is he a bad player? Absolutely not. I love the kid. I think the kid's a great player. He may not be immediate impact this year on the team. The fucking general manager just said that yesterday.
I'll tell you what they need this year. Because I see what you're saying. The moves they've made on defense are more beneficial to them down the line than they are in the immediate season. I agree with that. They're relying on the $200 million offense this year. That's what they're relying on this year.
Amen.
Last year, you had a big, I'm not going to call it luck, but it's very rare you get an instance where you have that many players, okay, 2 new rookies, a brand new middle linebacker who's never played linebacker before in Zach Baum, Nolan Smith, who was a huge question mark. All of these guys, they all worked. All right. That doesn't happen a lot. It was a beautiful alignment of things last year.
Unreal how it happened.
Unreal. It really is. If you look back at it and you're like, holy crap, there was a little bit of luck involved. That's just how it works in football. All right. This year, they're back to, remember last year before the season, what we said, this defense is going to be better in 25 than they are in 24. Remember that?
Yeah.
I think we're actually there this year, and they need the offense, which is returning every single player, okay, with a pay raise for Saquon Barkley. They need that offense to be the guy this year, okay? That, whether it's Jalen, whether it's Saquon, I don't care who it is, okay? I don't care who it is, but that offense needs to be better than the defense was last year. And I think if you have that, you have a combination where you could win a Super Bowl and then be also set up for 25, 26, 27. But if the offense isn't ready to take on a little bit more of the burden, I mean, if you split the load up last year in the backpacks, who carried the bigger backpack? The defense had what, 65%? Offense 35? What would you give it? 55, 45, 50, 50? Where would you be? 60, 40?
Something like, I'd give it 60, 40 because of the run game. The run game was just.
Right, so the offense needs to take 60 this year.
Yeah, they need to be 60-40 this year. That's absolutely correct. I want to show you something here. 2 last ones before. By the way, Jason Cole will join us as he does each and every single Friday. We'll get his perspectives on what he saw this week in the NFL. You know, I heard John say something, and I completely disagree with it when it comes to the tight end market. Bro, Dallas Goedert, I know for a fact, the Jets have Mason Taylor inked in as their starting tight end. The Carolina Panthers need a tight end. They got a guy down there who's got 100 yards and catches. The Rams have a guy, and that Igbe, whatever his name is, this guy's got 190 yards and catches. The Chargers need a tight end, and the Seahawks need a tight end, and the Giants.
The Rams had that dude. What's the other dude the Rams have? That's a pretty good tight end. Higbee?
Yeah, he had 100 yards last year.
Really? Did he get hurt?
Let me see.
He must have got hurt because he's not a bad player.
Let me double check here. I mean,
you might be right about the yardage. Well, I would assume.
Well, he may have been hurt.
He might have been hurt though.
Yeah,
last year he had 66 yards, brother.
Really? Did he?
8 catches last year.
Okay, yeah. Well, the Rams, could you imagine Dallas Goedert on the Rams with Matthew Stafford and with the receivers of Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua?
He's 32 now, Tyler Higbee. They need a tight end bad.
How about him with the Rams? You're telling me that doesn't have a nice look to it?
Look at this dickhead. Senor, give him the dickhead award for always having a dickhead take. I mean, seriously. Senor, are you under the impression that every single year you're going to have a number 1 overall defense?
Yeah, he is.
He is. I think he is. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's the answer. That's why he's a dumbass.
Yeah, that's what, yeah, he does.
That's not realistic, Senor.
It's not.
I mean, come on, brother. Who gets paid more, Senor?
Hey, again, these are guys that sit there and they look at football cards and they think they can line them up and they're the same thing of putting them on a football roster.
Come on, bro. Your defense is there's a way better chance that your defense is not as good as it was last year than it is as good as last year.
But
you were a historic defense last year.
But may have more upside down the line.
I agree. I definitely think it has more upside down the line. I think you have better long-term pieces.
Thinks he's got like football cards in his spokes of his front bicycle. And then he's playing football tops.
No, he climbs back. I'm under the impression the Eagles offense cannot carry the team. Well, then we got a problem, Houston. Houston, we got a problem.
That's the first time I've ever heard this guy say anything that was really great. Wait a minute, Senor.
Senorita.
Senor, is this too much lofty expectations? The Eagle offense gets back to Brian Johnson's number 8 overall, passing and rushing. And they're not 29th in passing. They got more continuity, and they're the number 1. They have to be, in my opinion, in the top 3 in time of possession again this coming season for that defense, because the defense is just not going to be the same.
Yeah. The offense needs to be what they were in the playoffs last year, all year. Not all year. See, they got to be a good enough team to win enough games, get in the playoffs. Like, I'm not asking you to win 15 games, right? Go be good, get into the dance, and then you need the offense to be what they were last year in the playoffs.
You're not being horrible here. So let me ask you
this.
No,
he's not. I went too hard on him because now that he's added more context, his take makes more sense.
Which is normal for him. He doesn't. Here, how about this? Can Jalen Hurts?
Sorry, Senor. I love you, buddy.
Can he have this same year, 29-03 and 18 touchdowns?
Mm-mm. And well, what is Barkley?
Barkley has $2,000. I mean, he can.
Exactly. It all comes down to Barkley.
So it comes down to Barkley and not Hurts.
Who's gonna be the face of the team next year, in your opinion?
I think it has to be Jalen.
Wait, do you say that because you want? Let me finish.
Okay.
Do you say that because you want Jalen to be that guy? Do you say that because you think it's a natural progression for running backs to have a lesser season when you set records like that, and you think it's basically just obvious you're not going to have 2,500 yards again? Probably not. No running back has done that. Why do you say that?
I think it's all of that, and I don't like to do that, but I don't think the running back is going to look. If this is where I think you have to be. I think Hurts has to be 4,200 yards.
Oh, he's not going to be there.
Wait.
That's not his game.
Wait. Barkley has to be 1,500, or you're going to do this. Barkley 1,700 and Jalen 3,500. It's either one or the other. It's not going to be both. Because you didn't. Because to your take, it wasn't both last year. So which is it? It's either he has 1,800 yards again, and Hurts has 3,500, or it's Hurts with 4,200 and Barkley with 1,500. It's not going to be both.
I think you get 1,500 from Barkley.
Okay.
I think you get 3,500 passing from Jalen, which is an increase of about 600 yards. It's an increase of about, 15, 20%. I think that's very reasonable.
Is that enough to keep that defense and being allowed that defense to grow with all the?
Well, how effective are those yards, right?
How effective
are those yards? I mean, how many points do they produce?
Because of the time of possession.
Yeah, but also like you can, Jameis Winston throws 5,000 yards. Not all yards are created equal. If you have an
Oh,
effective 3,500 yards, your turnovers are super low, your touchdown percentage is super high, and you're capitalizing on the yards you are getting. Okay, then those 3,500 yards could really turn the offense into top 3 in the league. But if you're not capitalizing and you're not scoring and you have a bunch of interceptions because you're throwing the ball more, then you're taking away. Those 3,500 yards are more meaningless.
Jalen Hurts' 3,600 yards might have been the most important 3,600 yards in 2022 because
Right.
he did it throughout the entire year, that year, playing great football. Okay. That was what we're talking about with yards that matter versus 5,000 yards. This guy was an 800-yard rusher, 3,600 yards passing. Everything was effective. Okay. Well, when you start dissecting that up, going either or, I mean, you've got to really, they took the ball out of the kid's hands. They got to put the ball, I don't know, more into his hands. And I don't know if you're doing that when you're taking a tight end out of the building.
No, but even when the passing game was when it was clicking its best, Goddard was involved. Think about it. What were our best passing games of the year? Pittsburgh in the regular season. How about Cincinnati? I think we had a good passing game versus Cincinnati, and then the 2 playoff games, the Commanders and the Super Bowl.
Let me tell you this: the game that made me know you guys were real was Baltimore. The Baltimore game.
Baltimore, we ran all over them. We ran all over them.
Baltimore, I went like this. They're okay. That team's now.
All right, see, ready though? Let me give you this.
That was the game I went. Yeah, that's Baltimore there, man. I don't know.
Let me give you this though. All right, and I'm going to check the Bengals game next. But the Pittsburgh game, you remember the Pittsburgh game? Everybody was crying about the passing game. That was the game after A.J. Brown said, "Oh, we're not passing the ball," and Jalen Hurts came out at the end of it and said, "Is that what y'all wanted to see?" Because he always has to tell the media when they're wrong. That was that game. Dallas Goedert didn't even play that game. Okay, A.J. Brown had 110, Devontae had 109, Kenny Gainwell had 40 yards, and Calcaterra had 22 yards with 1 catch. So that's one passing. Like, I don't think this passing game thrives based on the tight end. I know he was a big part of the playoffs, but like if you're looking at where is the expendability, same thing with the Bengals game where Devontae was your leading receiver, AJ was 85, 84 respectively, Calcaterra had 58 yards. Goddard wasn't even in the 2 best passing games of the regular season.
Okay.
Goddard didn't even play the 2 best games that we had where we passed the ball to win. The Bengals and the Steelers. Now, he was good in the Commanders game, I believe, in the playoffs. He didn't do much in the Super Bowl. Let me look at the conference final. AJ was your leading receiver in that game. Dallas Goedert did have 7 catches for 85 yards. So that's the one game that Goedert was a big one. But shit, you look at the 2 best passing games of the regular season, if we're talking about you need more from the passing game, Goedert wasn't even a guy.
Yeah. Yep.
That's probably why they're viewing him as expendable. Now, you're not wrong. They're losing a good player. But maybe the Grantster Calcaterra. Maybe he's got it, Sills.
You want to hear some little birdie sent me an email just now?
Oh, really?
Couple takeaways from today's camp.
Ooh, let's hear the birdie.
Okay.
Phil, come on, we got Cole coming up. I got to go.
Oh, man.
Okay, bro.
Okay, hang on here. Check it out. So here was what did Clint say here? Here's the O-line. Miles Hinton at left tackle. That Lincoln Vaqueja, left guard.
That Vacaha or whatever it is, yeah.
Drew Kendall at center. Holland Pierce at right guard. Cameron Williams at right tackle. That's how they lined up when it came to helmets and shorts. So that's how they lined up. Jahad Campbell was wearing number 30 out there. He did not have a helmet. And he didn't participate in practice. So he was just out there today with the rookies. Hinton played both the left and right tackle. today. So they moved him across the board. There were a few throws by Kyle McCord. He goes, hey, Sills, this guy can play. Okay. Porter's got a chance to chat with. Oh, by the way, they were all over. Drew, what's his name? They were all over Makuba.
All right.
They
Let
were
me see.
all over.
Wait, by the way, let me just plug one thing. 6 p.m. tonight, coming out of the Sileo show, we're going to have me and Johnny Mac. John was down there today for rookie mini camp. So Johnny Mac will give us the update on what he saw down at rookie camp. It was open to the media today, and tomorrow is closed to the media. So we won't get only state-run media tomorrow for the
the NFL and their state-run media.
Yeah, especially the Eagles. Good night.
All
right, Sales. Appreciate it, brother.
You think Cole's state-run media? You know, he went to Stanford. You know, they got
Cole's not state-run media.
All
right, I'm out of here. See you.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Don't forget to check him out right after the program. Yeah, Marcus Hayes went. You know, this is why I love Jason Cole, because he is a lot like, but he's not well, no, they're both the same. Marcus Hayes went like this, off the top rope, like he was Jimmy Snuka on Trump's face. He just went right off the top rope. This guy's a scumbag. This is why we get both sides of the aisle. I love Marcus. I love Jason. So on Monday, the Eagles show up training. They show up to the White House. Now, I had a chance to go to the White House when President Reagan was in the White House. Get a chance to hang out with the leader of the United States and leader of the free world. You're hanging out in an elevator. I told you about the story. Hey, Willie, how's your wife's gout? There was President Reagan, knowing the guy's name in the elevator. We all went, he knows the elevator operator's name. His wife had gout surgery. Okay. Then again, it's a different era. I went there to steal spoons and forks and a cup and a napkin out of the White House. That's what I went for. I mean, you know me, I'm a hurricane. Okay. Stanford's the ones that are going to sit around and try to have a debate with the president at the Resolute desk. Not me. I wanted to sit on the Resolute desk. Anyway, how did Jason Cole see that? Saquon Barkley shows up like a leader, and there was Jalen Hurts not showing up. Let's go to our friend. Jason Cole, Hall of Fame voter. One of the most plugged-in guys we have. My friend, how you doing?
I am fantastic. I am truly great.
All right. So what did you make of the White House? And do you believe that everyone should show, or do you believe, we had a guy say this on our show the other day, because of today's political landscape, it should be optional because of how people have polarized the visit now, that during my time, Jace, I didn't give a crap who the guy, none of us cared. But because today things are more polarizing on both sides of the aisle, that teams should make that thing optional moving forward.
I'm not sure I agree with part of what you just said. I think things are polarized on both sides of the aisle in terms of one guy hates a lot of people and then all the Democrats hate the one guy. Okay, that I think is true. Okay, but I don't think that all the Democrats hate everybody that he hates and alienate everybody that he alienates. But that's a different discussion. As for whether it's optional or not, look, Jalen wasn't the only guy who didn't go, right? There was like 6 or 7 guys that didn't go.
Don't slide down that lane. You know that he's the face of the team.
He's absolutely. And look, I got, my friends who are black, who, when I say, what do you think about Trump? What's your reaction when Trump says the blacks? Okay. Like they get cross-eyed and pain, there's just a palpable reaction for them that it's incredibly uncomfortable for them. Now, that's not the same for everyone. Okay. But it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. And obviously it's uncomfortable for Jalen. So uncomfortable he doesn't want to be there. So if you don't like somebody that much, I got a hard time forcing you to do it. I really do. So I kind of don't blame guys for not going. Would I go? Probably, but I don't sit in, I don't step in his shoes. I don't step in, I don't necessarily believe in all the things he believes in, but I will say this. I feel like as a Democrat and as somebody who supports a lot of groups that the president mocks and mocked like last night, I'm really uncomfortable with this guy. Like it's one thing to say transgender people can't play sports. I don't have a real big problem with that. Okay, I vacillate on it, but I don't have a problem with saying it. Mocking them takes it to a different level. When you're making fun of somebody and you're insulting them, and you're denigrating them, that's where it goes too far. It's one thing to say no, it's another thing to mock them.
And of course, my better half, she's been with me for 40 years and I'm sitting there going, oh, you got to show up. You got to be a team. She looked at me and she goes, well, let me ask you something. We had Michael Irvin on last week. I've been friends with that guy for 40 freaking years.
Right.
And she goes, if Michael Irvin and Jerome Brown, if he were alive and they go like this, the guy makes me uncomfortable. I want you to stand with us. Would you go? And I went, oh.
He's right.
And I know I would stand with them because I love them more than that guy. I don't care what my beliefs are, but they're not just my teammates. They're people that I am going to have friends
you bleed with those guys. You go through pain with those guys. Those guys sacrifice for you and you sacrifice for them. And I get it. And that's why I'm not uncomfortable.
And I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go if they asked me. I would.
If they asked you, then I understand. If Jalen Hurts didn't ask anybody, then it's his decision by himself. He lives with it. He deals with it however he wants to deal with it, and that's okay. I mean, he also I give Jalen credit. He's the best of my knowledge, he hasn't said anything.
No,
he didn't show up. So he's not making going over the top. He just said, I don't want to go. I don't want to be in this. I don't want to be in this environment, and I don't have a problem with that. That's the way it goes.
What about Barkley, though? I mean, Barkley's taking a lot of heat from people, especially on that side. I mean, even Malcolm Jenkins, the former Eagle, came out and said that I'm exceptionally disappointed that. Hey, look, he goes, and remember something about him. Barkley played golf 4 months ago with Obama. I mean, he was playing golf with him. He's friends with Obama.
And let me say this as well. Look, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, just sat down with who's that young dude?
Joe Rogan?
No, Charlie Kirk. And he sat down
Kirk.
with Joe. Yeah, he sat down with Joe Rogan. Like, part of me is like uncomfortable with that, but part of me is like, hey, you got to start to have some conversations here. Because eventually that guy's going to be out of office, and we got to get a chance to fix this whole thing because it's ugly and it's bad, and it's not the way that we really want to talk. Now Trump has an amazing charisma, and he pulls it off, right? Because he just keeps on charging. So I give the man credit. He's a marketing genius. He has made it work somehow, some way. But I don't know that there's another human being in this world who has the gravitas, the stones, anything else to do that. And if they tried, they would probably, cause an insurrection on that, that side. And I'm talking about whether they're a Democrat or whether they're a Republican. Excuse me. But so there's only one human being who's sort of capable of doing this. And that's why I say I don't have a problem with Gavin Newsom having conversations with people on the other side. I have, some of my best friends are Republicans, and it's like it doesn't make any sense to not talk about how do you solve a problem.
I'm complete, and again, we have Marcus Hayes and you, and I see. For me, I'll leave. Here's the last thing I'll say on this thing here. I think people who respect people whether they believe this or that. It's about what kind of person and how you're treated with each other, on how you have these folks as your friends. I mean, I have you on, Jason, and I talk to you, and I enjoy talking to you because we have philosophical differences in some things, and yet we always have a great conversation. To me, that's the art of debate, and that's also the art of conversation. To me, I think the people that are narrow-minded and don't, because I hate Trump, because I've never met the guy, I hate him, and I see him. To me, I think those folks don't really have an open mind to what others say, and how can you grow from that if you don't have the other opinion on the other side? You don't have to agree with it. But Jesus, man, I mean, how do you form a valid opinion when you don't know?
I'll say this: you're not going to change anybody's mind about Trump if you don't listen to them. Like if you don't go to a Trump voter and say, explain it to me and why, and let's have a conversation and have a respectful conversation, you're never going to get that person to come over to the other side, and vice versa. Like it's just never going to happen. So have some conversations. Now, again, with Jalen, his decision, with Saquon, his decision, I don't blame either guy for doing what they did. And,
absolutely.
And that's okay.
How about this? What about this Shedeur Sanders story and how we briefly talked about it last week? Now, here we go. Here we are. Now, I found out that there were at least 15 players that had prank calls that were in the first round, and there were about 15 guys that somehow all these numbers got to, and other people were getting pranked.
Can I say this? This has been going on for years.
Yes.
The prank calls have been going on for years. The fact that it came from somebody within the NFL and it was, that deserves punishment. But let's just put it this way. How many dudes go around to clubs giving out their numbers to a whole lot of different people, particularly the ones that they're attracted to? Okay. They're like, these are not state secrets. Their phone numbers. Now, they're supposed to be kept secret within NFL confines, but it's not hard to get a dude's number these days. It really is not. If you really want to, as a reporter, you can find somebody's phone number in a hurry. Now, the fact that Ulbricht's kid did it and did this, it's finable. It's embarrassing for the league. And furthermore, if I'm Ulbricht and I look at my 21-year-old, I say, you know what you're going to do? You're going to spend 2 weeks washing jocks and socks during training camp, and you're going to do 10,000 push-ups, pal, in front of all those guys. Okay? And
is that worth $100,000? I think we need to add a little more than that, but okay.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, because you got to look at that kid and say, you know what? Those guys put food on your table, pal.
Oh, yes.
They put food on your table. They allow you to go to college and do all the other things that you do, have a car. And by the way, your dad was one of those guys. And you punked one of those guys? What a disrespectful little snot you are. So guess what? You get to go to the laundry room and pick up ratty ass, sweaty socks. And you can do it with your bare hands for all I care. You don't even get to wear the plastic gloves that most of the guys who do that would do. You can do it with your bare hands, pal. That's what I would make. I'd make that kid do that, right? And take a shower afterwards before you get anywhere near me, pal. Like that.
Holy
That's
cow, man. We got an old school thing going on here.
Yeah, we got a little bit of that because that's what the kid did. Because he ain't paying any of that $100,000.
No, absolutely not.
He didn't have $100,000.
No,
screw that kid. No. And that's the punishment he deserves. He deserves to get mocked and embarrassed because he mocked and embarrassed somebody who has fed him. Not literally. Shedeur Sanders has not ever played in the NFL. But guys like Shedeur Sanders, who worked hard to make it, put food on that kid's table and allow him to go to college and do all the other things that he did. And that's why he should do something more than just money or more than just apologizing. That's my view.
Let me ask you the most important question about that story. Okay, well, here's the Browns quarterback room. You have, in that room, Watson's not playing. So you have Flacco. He's got to be 100 years old by now. You've got Kenny Pickett. You've got a kid, Dylan Gabriel you drafted. And you got Shedeur. I mean, does he even make the team? Does he start? I mean,
You don't know.
So
don't
do you
know
think he's in a good? Do you think he's in a good place to win a job?
Yeah, I think he's in a good place to win a job. Are you afraid of Kenny Pickett? Are you
No.
afraid of Joe Flacco? Are you afraid of Dylan Gabriel?
No, the only
you're
reason
good-
I'd be afraid of Dylan Gabriel is because he was drafted ahead of me.
Okay, fine. Go compete. Like let's go compete. Shadur's a good player.
Yes,
He may not be a great player.
no, he should have
might
been a
end up-
third rounder. Should have been a third rounder.
maybe second, maybe even
Yeah.
first, depending.
Okay.
Who knows? Right? It's eye of the beholder. He is certainly not a fifth round caliber player. He's
No.
better than that.
He is.
Okay, but he's a douche, and he has to pay for that sin. He's a jerk ball. Okay, and guys don't want to be. I don't care what they do on video and social media, but they're not drawn to that guy. You know that.
No,
Coaches aren't
absolutely.
drawn to that guy. So he's got to do some serious work. But if he does the work, okay, then he does the work. And if he changes himself, then he changes himself. And if he says, man, I just took a licking because people don't like me, and I got to be more of a leader and a quarterback. Okay. It's sort of like Lamar Jackson. When you talk about his throwing ability, this is not a personality issue, but you talk about people's flaws, right?
Yep.
Okay, we all talked for a couple of years about Lamar Jackson, how he wasn't accurate, and how his sort of sidearm, three-quarter arm release was not suitable for the NFL. Well, he worked on it. He fixed it. He's one of the most accurate throwers in the league now. He throws the ball different than you would necessarily teach it. So what? It works, right? And so, would you take Lamar Jackson as your quarterback today?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would, and you'd say, "I'll take my shot." Okay, well, Shadur, you got things you got to fix. Go fix them. Let me see what you can do.
Two last ones here for you. Everyone knows. I mean, what part of my collection is the book you wrote on John Elway, and it's a great read here. Can you tell me a little more about this unfortunate thing that happened with Jeff Sperbeck? That
I don't know anything more. I don't know any more details than have been reported.
What kind of influence was he with John? Was that like his business partner? Do you have any? Because
they're really. If you want to know the background on them, I can tell you that they're incredibly close. I would say that Sperbeck is one of the 4 or 5 people that he trusted most in this world, and the first, 2 of them, are guys he played in college with, who I think are his most trusted friends.
His first
third
agent?
one. No, not his first. I don't think Marvin's not in that category.
No. Okay.
I think Marvin's like a father figure, kind of like you would go to him and you would talk to him, but he's not he's not the guy you go to on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
Marvin's a little older. Okay.
I heard he was closer. I heard he was closer with Marino.
Not like that kind of friendship. Not like not like the deep kind of like, who do you go to when it's really crappy in your world? And right now, John's gone through some really, like, this is the worst part of a horrible time. His other sister. He's lost both of his sisters now. His other sister died of cancer recently, within the last few weeks.
Pat Bolin, a couple of years ago too, was a dear friend of his and a very close
I mean, let me just say this: John Elway is going through a really, really hard time right now on his personal life, and Sperbeck's death and the death of his sister, although he wasn't terribly close with his sister, I know that the way he thinks, and this is going to be the time where he's going to need his closest friends. But he doesn't have, I don't think he necessarily has a lot of people that he can go to and just cry on their shoulder. There's probably 4 to 5. Sperbeck was in that group. His kids are possibly in this group. So I'll be frank with you. I sort of worry about the guy.
Wow.
I'm because I mean, look, whether he's responsible or not, and I know there are a lot of people who are guessing, what happened. We don't know. Okay. but he's going, regardless of whether he is responsible or is not, that'll play itself out. He's going to feel responsible.
Oh, of course.
Right. He's going to second guess and go, what could I have done? Whether it was actually, whether it's just a freak accident and somebody hit their head in the wrong way, or whether, there was something really strange that happened. I don't know. I have no facts. But I know this. Any human being who was driving that cart and they have their friend on the back, they would feel overwrought with despair about what could I have done differently, especially when that's one of the 4, 5, 6 closest people to you in your life. And on top of that, Spurbeck just got married like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So he's with his new wife. I mean, it's just, it is as awful as it can possibly be. When you kind of draw it up where he's at, and I he's going to be okay, but I am concerned for the guy.
I wonder why they didn't ask him to help run the Stanford program more so than they did Andrew Luck.
He's not that close to Stanford.
Okay.
He's not,
I always thought he talked fondly of it.
No, he talks fondly of it, but he was really, he's never given a lot of money to Stanford. He's never donated a lot of time to Stanford, and part of that is because they fired his dad.
Yep.
And unfairly fired his dad, and treated him badly. And the athletic director at the time was a jerkball. So there's some things, and John holds grudges.
Yeah, I do know this.
Yeah, he holds serious grudges, and if he's upset with you,
that's Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah. I mean, he holds grudges, so he doesn't forgive people very easily.
I have to ask you one last thing here. We had Chris Hinton on the other day. Folks, that was one of the greatest interviews I've ever done. People didn't know this. Chris Hinton has 8 Pro Bowls.
Yeah. He's a borderline Hall of Fame guy.
Hang on. Third pick in the draft. He's the first rookie to ever make the Pro Bowl. He has won Pro Bowl positions at 4 different spots in the O-line. He's never in a million years, he's now in the veterans, he's never been considered for the Hall of Fame and brought up for an 8-time Pro Bowler. And I wonder how many.
I don't want to look this up. I don't want to spend the time looking.
I did.
How many all pros does he have?
I think there's 2.
That's a lefty, but I will say
how about all pro? How about Pro Bowl at 4 different positions?
Look, it's all worthy of discussion. The fact that he hasn't come up is partly because he's part of the Elway trade, which is a great embarrassment. I know he didn't fail. I'm not. Look, he gets looked at. He's looked at in a sort of jaundiced eye, right? Because he's part of this, lopsided kind of ugly trade, right? And it is unfair, and it is, it's really kind of awful for him, and because he was a really good player.
His kid just got drafted by the Eagles, and that's why we had him on.
His kid went to Stanford and then left, but that's a whole different thing. But look, Chris Hinton had a terrific career, maybe borderline great career.
12 years, he was a 8-time considering Pro Bowler and all pro. There's in there. I don't know, man. What am I missing?
Well, there are some guys who had that. I mean, you go look at like Richmond Webb's career and Steve Wisniewski and all those guys. They've had pretty terrific careers. Not necessarily the 4 different positions thing, but they had pretty terrific careers, and they haven't made it. So it's tough for offensive linemen. But I will say this: the fact that he has gotten nowhere on that committee, nowhere, makes you go, wow, he really got the worst end of the PR of that trade.
Boy,
he really took
that. How do you feel? I asked him, I go, do you feel that you're never considered or talked about as one of the, I played against him too, one of the great offensive linemen in your era. I mean, 4 different positions, dude. Only Bruce Matthews did that. And I asked him, he goes, oh, it's the Elway trade. I mean, everyone, when they think of me, they think that I was some sort of like 2-year guy, and I played 12 years.
I know. He absolutely suffers from the indignity of what was still a lopsided trade. Don't get me wrong; it's still a lopsided, awful trade. But he was a damn good player.
Yes,
he was not a franchise quarterback, but he was a damn good player. It's just, he's part of what, one of the most notable, remembered trades in the history of the game. And it was unfortunately really ugly for him. And he's suffered as a result. So, like the fact that he's never made the final 25, been discussed, like you just kind of sit there and go, we kind of done that guy wrong. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but like he deserved to, make a final 25.
Yeah, how about this, Jay?
Discussed.
He deserved at least do you mind if I say this publicly to him? Because I'm going to say you deserved at least a conversation.
Yeah, he deserved making a final 25 where we were trading emails.
Yeah.
And information. Now that was before my time. So I can't speak to what happened or didn't happen.
I'm going to ask Rick Goslin, what's up with this?
Sure, go ahead. You can go ahead. Rick will probably give you an answer. Clark Judge might be able to give you an answer. Guys like that. I don't know. I don't know if there were emails circulated about him, but I would have thought, and maybe he did. I don't know if he ever made a final 25 or not. But if he didn't, he probably should have.
Real quick, Aaron Rodgers play yes or no this year?
He'll play. Yep.
Steelers?
I don't know where else they're going to play. Minnesota?
Toronto Argonauts.
I mean, he said he'd want to play for $10 million. Like, if you want to play. I mean, my only thing with Aaron is, man, you got to show up in the offseason.
Bro, you hate him because he went to Cal.
No, I do. No. You got that totally wrong. I love watching Aaron Rodgers play. I love watching him throw a football. He is one of the greatest throwers in the history of this game. And I hope he comes back and he has another monster year or two or whatever he can. Cal's got nothing to do with that. That's a whole separate issue. That guy, I love to watch him play. Hearing him talk sometimes annoys me. The way he's handled his career sometimes annoys me. But you want to talk about somebody who knows how to throw a football? Oh yeah, like that's beautiful. That is a beautiful thing to watch.
He's the first ballot to you, right?
To me, just stand up, sit down. I mean, I know that it won't be that easy because people will say, "Oh, he only won the one Super Bowl and he didn't do this," and blah blah. Come on, man. Come on.
Oh, I know.
Like that. Like, did you watch him play? Did you see it? Because if you watched it, it was electric and it was amazing and it was fantastic and it was like there were some moments that he was the greatest thrower of the football in the history of the planet. Now, that I'm putting him up there with guys like Marino and Montana and stuff like that. But he's right there.
Hey, are you leaning this year towards giving Eli the
Eli? I haven't seen the final 15 yet. I don't know.
Okay, what are you running for office or what are you a
No,
lawyer?
No. I don't know because a lot of it is who are the other guys who are up, right? Okay, but that should tell you something.
If Junior Seau's in a room, someone goes, "Hey, I got to see." I don't have to see the other guys up. He's in that.
Eli, I do.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Eli's not Junior Seau. Okay.
You mean he's not Aaron Rodgers?
He's not Aaron Rodgers either.
Okay.
He's damn good player. Damn good player. I think he'll make the Hall of Fame someday.
Holy shit! You sound like those guys in Washington, man. I mean, I gotta see.
I'm being as honest.
I know you are.
I'm being completely honest. I mean,
no, you don't want to. You're not committed to it, though.
I'm not committed to Eli. That's why he didn't make it. If I was committed to Eli, I tell you I was committed to Eli.
I know.
I told you last year. Like
I know.
I'm not all in, but it sometimes depends on what does the ballot look like? Who are the guys in front of you that you got to put in? I have a feeling
Let me ask you this. If you had to win a ball game with a guy who's up this year, would you take Rivers or Eli?
Gotta take Eli.
You rolled your eyes and went, I got to take Eli.
Well, I mean, look,
Rivers is better. Rivers is better.
I don't know about that. Look, I love Phillip Rivers, man. I do, and I think that we're going to
the last 10 years of Eli Manning's career, it was dog. You know what?
Yeah, but I just say this. I put a really high value, a very, very high value on winning Super Bowls.
MVPs too.
I understand, but I put a very high value. To me, like that is the point of why you play. The point of why you play. And yes, you can run into one accidentally. You can run into a couple accidentally, or you can be Bill Romanowski and be in the right place at the right time a bunch of different times.
You think Jalen Hurts is in the right place at the right time?
He's not a Hall of Famer yet. I mean, I don't think he's really on that kind of a pathway. So, but he was. Look, we talked about it all during the season last year. He's a damn good quarterback in an NFC that doesn't have a lot of really good players, right?
Oh my God!
Would Jalen Hurts be as apt to win a Super Bowl if he was on the AFC side of the right? No. He's on the NFC side, so he really didn't have to get through anybody. He's got to have one game. One game. If you're on the AFC side of this, you got to have to win a Super Bowl. You got to have a minimum of 3, maybe 4 games where you play balls out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're on the NFC.
That's the problem with Josh Allen. I don't believe he can win 4 in a row in the AFC.
Really good.
Hurts has to go through Golf, Dak, and Sam Darnold. I mean, I don't know.
It says Brock Purdy. Like Brock Purdy's in there. Like that's kind of how watered down the NFC is right now. It's not that good. So all he has to do is make sure, don't screw it up for the first 2 or 3 games. Get to the Super Bowl and play balls out for a game. And he did that. He did that last year.
He's not on a track right now in your eyes for a Hall of Fame career. 2903.
He's really close because he's won a Super Bowl and he's been to another one.
Yep.
So that's close. That it's a better track than you think.
I
would just argue that I don't think he can maintain it because
Jim
the style.
Plunkett won 2.
Jim Plunkett won 2. Unfortunately, he's overwhelmed by the fact that the rest of his career got trashed by having been a New England Patriot. And look, and here's the one thing about Plunkett. Like that team, those teams were loaded. It's not one thing, it's 2 things. Those Raiders teams were just loaded. Just loaded with Hall of Fame.
The whole O-line was almost Hall of Fame.
Right. Well, and you got Hendricks, you got Shell, you got Upshaw, you got like Branches there, Bolitnik. I mean, it's just loaded. It's just a loaded
Willie
roster.
Brown.
Right. And on the flip side of that is Jim wasn't even the starting quarterback at the beginning of either one of those seasons. And I'm a Stanford guy. Okay? I'm a Stanford guy.
Former Heisman winner, too.
Right. I love Jim Plunkett. I want Jim Plunkett to be in the Hall of Fame from an emotional standpoint. But when I look at the totality of the career, I go, not good enough. Not quite good enough. And you got to look at a lot of guys that way. It's hard. It's really hard. And because it's not as simple as a yes. It's just not as simple as a yes or no on a lot of these guys.
I hear you, my friend, and I appreciate your time, man. I love these questions here. And by the way, I am going to ask Rick Gosselin. I mean,
I would love to know. I don't know. I don't know what happened or didn't happen, but Chris Hinton, his career was lost in the haze of one of the worst trades in the history of the league.
And they moved in the middle of the night from Baltimore to Indianapolis because he said
which is one of the reasons why. Like it's not that specific reason is not the reason why Elway didn't go to Baltimore, but the fact that the owner was a clown. Irsay was a clown.
Yeah.
I mean, go read. You read it in my book.
I know the story because I knew the GM at the time, and he told me, he goes, the guy parachuted in, and the owner started making decisions, and I think if I'm not mistaken, right after that move was done, I think he resigned. Yes. I forget. It loses my brain here a little bit on it, but I think
he resigned. I think he resigned.
He resigned like a couple weeks.
He did not want to be responsible for the Elway trade. He did not want to have to explain it to other people.
Well,
I give Ernie a lot of credit.
Absolutely.
Ernie had the stones to walk up there and say, "We're taking John Elway." He didn't back down.
Absolutely. Jace, have a great weekend, my friend, and thank you for your time.
All right, dude. I'll talk to you.
You got it. That's my friend Jason Cole, Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. And so Jalen Hurts is not on a track to be a Hall of Famer. Let's see. I didn't say that either. I hold on here. Let me towel this off here. I don't know why. See, now I'll get heat for that. You think Jason Cole's one of 50 men that votes for the Hall of Fame? He's not a Hall of Famer. He certainly doesn't have a resume for it. I don't know. I didn't, well, hey, it really doesn't matter if it's an awful take. He's a voter. You better kiss his ass, M. Reyes. Because he's one of the 50 voters that votes them dudes. Yeah. Is Jalen Hurts on track to be a Hall of Famer? No. Holy shit. Yeah. Oh, man. Why did it take so long for Eric Allen to get in? Because people had been scooting him over, and then we went and we made a push for him. And Eric Allen has thanked me personally. That's why he comes on the program, for helping getting him into the Hall of Fame. Because I got at least 20 of the voters to see my side of it. How's this guy not in the Hall of Fame? This is what I'm going to do for Chris Hinton. How are you not debating him at least? How are you not even having a conversation about a guy who was a Pro Bowler at 4 different positions? 8 times a Pro Bowler or All-Pro. He was the first rookie ever to be he was the first rookie ever to make the Pro Bowl. He's not in. And there's guys that are lesser resumes. Kevin Mawai, what did Kevin Mawai ever do to get into the Hall of Fame? Over Chris Hinton. He didn't have a better career. You think that guy had a better career? How? Where? Okay. Did I hear something different, or did this dude just say that he was on track? Dude, don't get upset. Don't be upset there, sonny boy. Don't be upset. It's all right. Go lay down. You probably look like you need a nap. It's okay, kid. Yeah. Look at this thing. Look at this. Look at Twiz. I don't even know what the fuck that means. Philly 500. This is my boy in here. How about a choke of fame? Romo and Prescott will be the first 2 inductees. Hey, I'll bet you anything Tony Romo's considered for the Hall of Fame over Donovan McNabb. Why? Because he played for the Cowboys. There's going to be a push by Jerry Jones to get Tony Romo into the Hall of Fame. because that's his guy. Remember something. Troy Aikman wasn't even Jimmy Johnson's guy. That was already earmarked. Troy Aikman was evaluated by Tex Schramm, Gil Brandt, and Tom Landry. And then when they took over after the Cotton Bowl that year in January, they ended up drafting Troy anyway. They were taking Troy. Troy Aikman it's why Gil Brandt stayed on as a director of personnel through Jimmy's first year, through the draft. I think it was through the draft. Jimmy Johnson, the reason that he kept with it was because here, hey, Bob, you'll like this story. Jimmy Johnson recruited Troy Aikman to go to Oklahoma State. He said no. When he was transferring, he had talked to Jimmy on coming to Miami. Instead, he went to UCLA. He said no to Jimmy again. When Jimmy got to the Cowboys, Jimmy was like, no, I'll take him. But he wasn't 1,000% sold on him. That's why they drafted Steve Walsh in a supplemental round in the first round. He wasn't sold. So he became sold. But that guy he was not a Jimmy guy right out of the gate. Tom Landry, that was his last nugget that he left the Cowboys was Troy Aikman. Actually, and Michael Irvin. Jimmy Johnson didn't draft Michael Irvin. Tom Landry did. Tom Landry drafted Troy Aikman, or he was going to be drafted, evaluated. Michael Irvin was picked by Tom Landry. People always are like, oh, Jimmy drafted. Jimmy didn't draft him. Coach Landry did. Michael was already in the building when Jimmy got there. Yeah. He hit out a Hall of Fame. What happened? Hey, what happened there? 500. Jalen Hurts is not a Hall of Famer. What happened? Holy shit. He's not on it. He ain't no Hall of Fame projection. He's nowhere near it now. Okay. Shit. All right. Texas boy, what happened? The Cowboys, man. He's still playing. Hey, well, here, Twiz. Patrick Mahomes is a Hall of Fame football player. Yes or no? He's a Hall of Fame player. Ain't no other way around it. Lamar Jackson's going to the Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't really need to see anymore. They're going to the Hall of Fame. What are you doing? Josh Allen, he's going to the Hall of Fame. One of the greatest football players I've ever seen. Unbelievable. All right. What Eagle players in 2025 have to have a show me year? What Eagle players have to have a show me year? And by the way, we're going to I'll ask 500 in here. Where are you playing Jihad Campbell? Where are you playing him? I mean, I've talked to Xander for about 30 minutes, and we're still trying to figure out where you're playing him in nickel. Where are you playing this guy? Whose job's he taking? Hit the like button. All supers go to the top. Guys, do me a favor, please. Make sure you check out my great friends at Morgan & Morgan. #1 injury law firm in America with over $30 billion recovered. And lawyers from coast to coast, my friends, that are out there making sure that they are taking care of families like yours when any kind of tragedy comes. If you're ever injured, make sure you check out my friends. This will be the easiest decision you ever make. And on top of that, the #1 reason why they are the #1 injury law firm in America is because of what? They win. Check them out at forthepeople.com/big sills or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sills or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sill sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Exhale, hit the like button. Who has the worst quarterback room? Here's the Browns. Deshaun Watson, who won't play. Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and the greatness of Shedeur Sanders. Here's the Steelers. Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, and Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson sounds like a stripper. Here's the Colts. Anthony Richardson, Daniel Dimes Jones. What's his name? Oh, yeah. That kid, Ryan Leonard, right? The kid from Notre Dame. And some dude named Jason Beam. Yeah. Shit, they got it going on there. Here's another one. Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy. What's his name? Garrett what? Garrett Owell? Brett Ripken and Max Brausmer. Oh, well. Here's the Jets. Hold on. Oh my God. Here are the Jets. Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor, Adrian Martinez, and Brady Cook. Who has the worst quarterback room in the league? It's got to be the Steelers. Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, and Skylar Thompson, the stripper. I'm like, yeah, give me, right? The Cowboys. All right, yeah. Dude, Steelers, this is shitty. Seals, are you worried about Jake Elliott? He struggled a lot. Remember, he almost cost us games by himself. I think we should have signed a kicker. Hey, Jameson, I don't think your take's wrong, but I don't really have my breakdown on non-football players. So if you could do me a favor, I'll have to get back to you with my analysis a little bit more in depth, and I'll have to do a deeper dive into this because I cover football players. I really don't cover, like, kickers. So I'll have to get back to you. Like my breakdown on kickers, I'm definitely going to have to really do a deep dive, Jameson. So please, and I appreciate your super, but I want to be as transparent as I possibly can, like Nick Saban was last night in Alabama introducing Trump. Okay, so I want to be as honest as I can. I don't really have my fundamental breakdown on non-football players. Kickers are not football players, okay? They're like golfers. They're not athletes. They're just Hoss, always remember this. If you can go to dinner in the gear you're wearing, you're not playing a sport, okay? You're playing a recreation. Like if I can go play horseshoes or curling and wear the same gear to dinner that my uniform is, that's not really a sport to me. Like if I can wear knickers and slacks and I can do that at my sporting event and go to dinner, I don't think that's a sporting event. Yeah, Curtis, thank you. Yeah, so I don't really cover kickers. Yeah. Sills, what do you think of the kicking game? I'll get back to you on that. We'll break that down a little bit. I'll have to do a deep dive into what kickers are going to be. Yeah, okay. Oh, man. Let me take that off the board there. How you doing? All right. Yeah. Kickers aren't football players. Okay, stop. It's important. Hey, there's probably guys at WIP, and I'm sure there's a ton of people that could break that position down. I'll come clean here. If you want to have somebody break down kickers, here's your guy. Anything non-athletic, here's your guy. If it comes to beer drinking, darts, kickers, kicking, anything, M. Reyes is your guy. Shitty takes, M. Reyes is your guy. Right here. I bet you M. Reyes could break down any kicker in the history of the league. This happens to be true, by the way, here. This happens to be true. The Cowboys' best player on the freaking football team happens to be their kicker, which is frightening and unbelievable. Look at this guy. Sebastian Janikowski had a son that is looking to get picked up. Oh, he's looking to get picked up at a kicker. Lard ass. You're going to argue with me over kickers? Have at it, shitty. Oh, Smitty. I'm sorry, shitty. Come on, shitty. What's up there, man? Yeah, your new name is Shitty. It's not Smitty. It's Shitty. Smitty. Wait. Smitty. Oh, my God. Schmitty. Hey, Schmitty. There's my boy Shitty Schmitty. Shitty Schmitty. Yeah. Holy, but on to me. I'll change it for you. There you go, honey. That's the kind of girl I like. Right there. He'll change it for you. Sound like somebody that should be hanging out with Belichick. There you go, Schmitty. Right there, baby. I like it, honey. He'll change it for you. Thank you very much, sweetheart. All good. All right, let's get on to a topic here. My buds called me Shitty. A+, Smitty. You earned your name back. It's a good question. Who's your team, Sells? I don't root for teams. I really don't. I don't have a favorite team at all. I'll tell you what I do dig. I dig the Eagles the way they do business, the Rams, the Chiefs, the Bucks, Steelers, somewhat Green Bay. I think Green Bay hangs out in the 9-8, 8-8 room. I don't know. I used to like the Niners, but I liked them when they had the Bartolo. I used to love the Giants. I grew up with them because my uncle was there, but I don't like at all anything they're doing. I think since Wellington Mayer died, it's just not the same. As a matter of fact, since Art Rooney died, I don't really think the Steelers are kind of the team that they used to be. And for that matter, I think Virginia McCaskey, I think she drove that franchise into the ground. The daughter of George Halas. Not that George Halas did a lot of winning as a head coach from the 60s on, but he did construct that 85 Bears team. And they did bring in Ditka, and they did bring in Buddy. So, but there's some organizations that I really like in how they do business. They get the draft right. They pretty much get free agency. They get the quarterback. I like well-run franchises. So to me, again, I root for really great players. I like watching great players. Okay? Bro, you sound like a tool. Grew up watching Bart Starr and Vince Lombardi. Dude, I'll tell you a really great story. And you'll dig this. Vince Lombardi used to go over Robustelli's house in the offseason all the way until he died, I believe in 73. Lombardi died 72. I think I was 11 years old. And Vince would come to Stanford because of Jackie Robinson and Robustelli. And I grew up with that family. I grew up with the Robinsons and I grew up with the Robustellis. And Lombardi would come to, like, my aunt's watching right now. So when I was a really young kid, I went to a place called KT Murphy. And then they had this youth sports event at the Italian Center. And we all went up there. Jackie was alive. Andy was alive. And Lombardi was alive. He was running I think he just took over the Washington Redskins. And he was up at the Italian Center. It was on Pound Ridge Road. You got to remember, he was the offensive coordinator on the Giants when my uncle played in New York. So they were very close friends with the New York Giant and Lombardi guys. So, and Lombardi was at the Italian Center. My grandpa used to go up there all the time. I used to go swimming up there. So, yeah. All right. So let's get to this topic. 500's in here. Let's get his responses. 2025. Eagles have to have a show me year. I picked 9 guys. Maybe you add more. Okay? Charlie. Well, I remember when he took over the Redskins. Do you remember how he got the Redskins? And how they got Lombardi to coach the Redskins? You ready? They gave him 5% of the Redskins for him to leave the presidency of the Green Bay Packers. He had stepped down. And Clark, what was his name? The guy, the racist owner that owned the Redskins back then. Oh, it slips my mind. But he gave him 5% of the team. And Lombardi's, I think they owned 5% of the team all the way up until Daniel Snyder owned it and bought it. And Vince got 5% of the Redskins. So he took over. And Vince Lombardi never had a losing season in his coaching career. So, I mean, all right. Here are some guys that I'm looking at for 2025 that have to have a show me year if they want to have a contract. Okay? All right. First one. I know 500 loves this guy. It's Jordan Davis. We pointed out to you over the next 2 years, Jordan Davis is not even in the top 7 players that you're going to address on contract extensions. You're just not. You're going to look at Carter. You're going to look at Reed. You're going to look at Cooper. Here. His weight's not his problem. His skill set's his problem. People are constantly looking like this. Because he lost weight, his weight's not his problem. His skills is his problem. He's not a 3-down player. They know that. He's not a 3-down football player. Get this. So here, in the next, if they were going to address his contract extension, wouldn't they have done it now? And by the way, he's 25 pounds lighter. I would be too in a contract year. But they've already told him, you're not getting a 3-year extension. Not when I have Jalen Carter coming up. I got to deal with Reed Blankenship. In the next 2 years, I got to deal with Cooper DeJean. I got to deal with Q. I got to deal with Nolan Smith. This guy's not even a 3-down player. Why would I deal with a non-3-down player before these other guys who are 3-down guys? Shit, I got to deal with Nakobe Dean maybe. One of the reasons the Eagles waited to pick up the option was wanting to see what kind of shape he was in. Dude, he doesn't. Here, let's do this because I don't think 500 was here when we were doing this exercise. Here we go. This was the beginning of the show here. Let's ask 500 this. Here is the lineup for the Eagles nickel package. Okay? Right there. You have Reed Blankenship at free safety. You have Makuba, we'll put, sure, at strong safety. Your corners are Q, Keely Ringo. Your nickel is Cooper. Your Mike is Zach Bond. Your Will is Nakobe. Jalen Carter is your left end. Your nose is Davis. Tackles are Jomo. And your end is Nolan Smith. This is a nickel Philadelphia Eagle starting lineup. First and foremost, who comes off the field for JAKIB Campbell? Out of that lineup, who comes off the field? $500. Who comes off the field? Are you sliding Carter inside, taking Davis off the field, and putting Campbell over at the left end? You're taking Dean out. Okay? So you're taking Nakobe Dean out. Why wouldn't you slide Moro Ojomo? When Moro Ojomo, no, you're not taking him out. He's a better pass rusher. Why don't you take Dean out, or Jalen Jordan Davis out, slide Carter down, and put JAKIB Campbell over at the end? Are you sure Campbell can set the edge? Are you sure he's a 3-down guy? I know Nakobe's a 3-down guy. He showed it last year. I don't know if Campbell's a 3-down guy. That wasn't even a position he played in college. Can't take Ojomo off. Why would you take Ojomo off? He's one of your better defensive lineman pass rushers. So Moro Ojomo doesn't win the. You're taking Moro Ojomo off and putting JAKIB Campbell at defensive tackle, and you're moving him inside of Nolan Smith? Huh. Again, this goes back to the problem we talked about. When you guys say that those guys, Milton Williams and Josh Sweat, were replaceable, you're replacing two guys with one player this year compared to what you did a year ago. Those guys could play in a 4-2-5, 43-34. The guys you have this year are one-dimensional. Jordan Davis is one-dimensional. Moro Ojomo can't play the run very well. He's okay, not great. JAKIB Campbell, you don't even know if he's going to be ready to go for half the season coming up. Howie Roseman told you. I read it to you. How about this? This is what you're saying here, too, about JAKIB Campbell. Here's the direct words of the general manager about JAKIB Campbell. Howie Roseman, general manager of the Eagles, has publicly stated that drafted linebacker JAKIB Campbell is a long-term investment. He's suggesting that the team anticipates Campbell will be a key player in years to come. He won't be immediately. Roseman has also acknowledged that Campbell might not be ready for training camp due to his recent shoulder and knee injuries, emphasizing we have to be patient. He is a long-term investment, albeit doesn't sound like much of an impact in 25 to me. Says, how can you be that big, that athletic, and that soft? This dude, Jordan Davis, is not playing football. MF's doing ASMR nasty work. All I'm saying to you is I'm not paying a guy $18 million to be a 2-down guy, especially when I got 6 other guys that I got to address before him. There's not a chance. You moving off to Nakobe? Are you moving off to Nolan? Like I said, okay, so you're going to pull Moro Ojomo out of the lineup, and you're going to put JAKIB Campbell. A guy who won't have any training camp and any football at all this year until the start of September. Okay. To me, the move is moving Davis out, moving Carter in, and putting Jalix Hunt at end. That's the move. Why would I take Nakobe Dean off the field when I know he's a 3-down guy? I know you didn't say that, 500. I'm not saying that. I think Jalix Hunt has an opportunity to be a 3-down player. That's what I would do. I would move Carter down to Davis's spot, have Ojomo the other rush tackle, Nolan Smith, and Jalix Hunt, and keep Nakobe and Bond and Cooper. Ringo's going to be an issue, and there's Q. Why would I take a 3-down guy out for a one-dimensional ball player? Okay? My point is that Davis is the odd guy out in that scheme. By the way, this is a nickel. That's what it looks like. 4 across, 5 in the middle, 2 deep, 2 eye safety. That's what he lines up in. 70% of the time, he lines in that. Think about that. 70% of the time, this is what you play, which means 7 out of every 10 plays, Jordan Davis is on the sideline. That's not $17 million. It's not. By the way, what if Jalix Hunt steps into that role over there when you slide down Carter to the nose and he's next to a Jomo? What are you doing with John Campbell and Nolan Smith? Now, that's rich man problems. I'm not taking Nakobe Dean out. One thing Dean did show us last year, he showed us he could play the run. Hey, I'll say it one more time to you guys. 500. I'll make this point about what you had a year ago. The Philadelphia Eagles did not have top 5 talent at every position outside of Carter and Bond. You know what they did have? They had the most versatile defense in the league by far. And maybe one of the most versatile defenses in recent memory. And what did we mean by that? Those guys didn't have to come off the field. There were no substitution packages. You know why? Like Xander said earlier, Josh Sweat, and 500 said it. Josh Sweat wasn't the greatest pass rusher, but he was good. Josh Sweat wasn't the greatest run defender, but he was good. Josh Sweat wasn't the greatest dropping coverage guy, but he was effective. Same with Milton. Those guys, you can't, now you're replacing them with players that are one-dimensional, which means you're using 2 guys to replace one. Moro Jomo can't play the run like Milton could. Watch him. Put his tape on. Gets blown off the ball. He's undersized. You had guys who didn't have to come off the field in substitutions and in nickel packages. They just went to it. They went to a 34-43, and they went to a 4-2-5, which is nickel. Or they go to dime. Nobody came out. Nobody came out. Get this. He was ranked 4th, dickbag. He wasn't that good. They were 10th in the league against the run, and they didn't blitz one time in the Super Bowl, and you guys are thinking you're going to replace him with Moro Ajomo. What a fucking shitty take. How in the world do you think that? When that guy is a one-dimensional pass rushing end. Holy cow, 99% of you do not watch football or do not know the nuances of how you look at a player if he fits a certain scheme. You have no idea. Like I said, this weekend, Vic Fangio, here, I got an email already. Let me read you the email that I just got. Oh, I got a roster too. Thank you, Clint. I just got a roster. First round pick, Jahad Campbell, was on the field. Seems to be a really nice guy. They didn't give him a helmet. The kind of kept it cool with him. He's there. He was a spectator the whole time. Now, here's something significant. Campbell went, according to Clint, went with the off linebackers. Keep an eye on that. So he went with the off linebackers. They started him off in the linebacking room. Then they moved him off. Then when they went to position drills, they moved him off ball. He took some shadow reps. That's not bad. Trying to get a feel for what they're trying to accomplish. As I said to you earlier, the O-line was hinting that Valahi guy at left guard, Drew Kendall at center, Holland Pierce at right, Cameron Williams at tackle. Pierce is the UDFA out of Rutgers, is it? I don't think Clint put that here. McCord didn't throw the ball that much. They did let a lot of the reporters for the first time talk to the draft picks. That's good. A guy who's imposing looking. Let me tell you what Clint Hurt just said. I think you're going to like this. This guy, Ty Robinson, man, this guy's built like a Pepsi machine. He's in the 15th percentile in arm length. And they said this, the most gifted looking athlete on the field is the kid Mondon. Let me take a look at his roster. How many guys I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. They either have 52 or 53 players that are taking reps at this camp from what I see. So, do they have him listed? Yeah. They got Campbell listed. I don't know who this guy is. They got a guy from Australia, an offensive tackle. Is this the rugby guy? He's 6'5", 320 pounds. Is that the rugby guy? Says he's from, who the fuck is this guy? Hey, Jordan Mailata, go get him. I'm with you, man. Worked before, why not? Is that who that guy is? Yeah, no college. Melbourne, Australia. Is that the rugby kid? Okay. Hey, I like that idea. Hey, it worked before, why not? Okay. That's all right. That's a good move. I'm right there with that. Okay. All right. Let's see if he works out. What do you guys make of Sidney Brown? Show me a year for Sidney Brown for me. $500. What do you make of Sidney Brown? Think he wins a starting job? By the way, I think he's got to win a starting job now, don't you think? If he don't win a starting job, it's pretty much over. He'll never win one. Be a special teams guy. What do you make of Sidney? You think his job's on the line? Not he won't make the team. I'm talking about starting. Right? Yeah, Twiz. I think that's great to have competition like that. Okay? Well, here, if Brown's a backup to him, third round pick, he's not starting. What if he's good enough to beat? You think they would ever consider putting him over Reed, not paying Reed? What if that guy looks so good in camp, Reed, not Reed, but Sidney, and the Makuba kid looks good? Would they ever consider taking Reed out of that role, putting Sidney over there? It's cheaper. Okay? Right? I want to see a big year from him. Look, I like the kid coming out of Illinois. I do. I think he's got a lot of great characteristics. He over pursues a little bit. He's got to stay healthy. But I actually like the kid. Mauro Jomo, is he going to win that job? Or is Ty Robinson going to beat him out? Let me ask you this. Who do you think the Eagles... Okay, well, here. Well, let me ask you this then, Philly. If Makuba beats out Sidney, is Sidney Brown a good draft pick at third round? Was that a good pick by Howie? If he doesn't eventually become a starter? Right. That's why I say this. Philly, they may end up moving him over to Reed Blankenship's spot and put him over at Reed's spot if they think he's good enough. Okay? So keep an eye on that. And it's cheaper. Reed's deal's up. And some of these safeties, there's thought that you may have to pay him between $8 and $10 million. Why would I do that when I could slide Sidney Brown over? Again, I'm not saying they won't. Agreed. Totally. Absolutely. That's why that pick. You're going to have some come to Jesus picks here with Howie that you guys have been crowing over. If Sidney Brown doesn't win that spot, that's a failure pick. Mauro Jomo, it's a 7th rounder. That guy wins the job. That's amazing. By the way, he's due a contract extension at the end of this year. What if he plays well? Nakobe, you won the Super Bowl without him. Can't stay healthy. He's up for a contract extension. If Nakobe Dean does not stay healthy this year, for the entire year, they're going to move off him. You're not going to sign a guy and give him what? You're going to pay two guys inside 15 and 17 million? No way. So let me get this right. You're going to change the entire structure of your paying philosophy, where you're paying all your money on offense, and switch that to defense and pay some of you 18 for Jordan, 40 for Carter, 17 for Bond, and another 14 or 15 for Nakobe, and then another 10 for Reed. No way. No way. No way. Tristan McCullum. Seems Vic likes him. It seems that Vic Fangio likes this kid. We'll see. I don't think he's a horrible player. I think he's actually a good piece. Could be a swing guy back there at safety. This is very true. The Huff contract kills everything. Hey, 500, you want to hear something crazy? They're not going to pay. Jordan Davis's agent is not going to take. He's paying him now 12. He go, dude. Milton Williams just got $26 million. The Huff contract does suck. You're only paying, Josh Sweat, I pointed this out yesterday. Josh Sweat is only making $1.5 million more a year than Bryce Huff. Think about that, Eagle fans. Josh Sweat signed for $1.5 million more in Arizona. Bryce Huff is making $1.5 million less. And he don't even start on your team. Keely Ringo. Over there, we got to find out who he is eventually. You can't keep telling me he's young, he's got great talent, and he's got a lot of good things about him. You can't keep telling me that, and then I don't see it. Last year, even Vic didn't go to him. Went to Isaiah Rodgers. You got to show me you can play, kid. Hey, Philly. If Tyler Steen doesn't win the right guard spot, would that third-round pick, in your opinion, be a bad pick? Do you think? Will that be a bad pick? Okay. So you got 2 third-rounders that potentially have to have a show at year. So if Sidney Brown fails and Tyler Steen fails, those are 2 third-round picks that didn't have any contribution to your football team. I don't know. That sounds like a problem. Here's another question. 500. If Kenyon Green doesn't win the job and they cut him, why'd you get rid of Gardner Johnson? Especially if you struggle at safety. Why would you have gotten rid of Gardner Johnson and brought in Kenyon Green and moved Gardner Johnson if he can't win that job? Right? He's got to win that job. Or that deal looks even worse than what 500 hated about that deal. Here's another one. Now, this isn't crazy here, but doesn't Trotter have to show? Okay, doesn't Trotter have to show he could be at minimum Oren Burks? Now, again, I forget. I think he was a 5th-round pick. Oren Burks was an expensive guy. And he was, boy, I'll tell you, man, there's a lot of good football players that you had in your second-team swing guys. Isaiah, Oren Burks, those guys were huge, man. I think that kid from Georgia is going to beat Trotter out. I think he's a better ball player. I do. I think that guy's a better ball player. Trotter could be a swing guy. We'll see how Nakobe comes back. Right? All right. What a week. Incredible. I know that John and Xander are going to talk about some of the activities that went on today, first day of rookie minicamp, and then they're also going to have one on Saturday. Remember what I told you? These coaches are just going to inundate you with as much information as possible. It's going to be about classroom work too, learning how to play in a nickel, learning the schemes, and they're going to see how much these kids can retain. So John will give you and Xander will give you the latest on what's going on out there. Have a great weekend. 2 to 6 on Monday. Thank you, everybody. Please hit the like button. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the flip side.